Here, Dean 78904. If you want to get all technical on me, that is the daily fantasy handle. And hopefully, you possibly maybe see you top some Fanduel contests, some DraftKings contests, win some real live American dollars in this 8-game MLB DFS slate. This is the start 2+ hours, taking you guys all the way up the lock. It's an intimate show, just the two of us, man. Myself, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, possibly other provinces as well in Canada. The soon-to-be married TJ. What's going on, dude? How are things in your world? When is the wedding? When's that going on?
9 days away, August 13th. It's next Saturday, so not this coming weekend, but the weekend after. Exciting times. I got the wedding in the horizon. I got a couple expos I'm going to, and then of course the World Fantasy Baseball Championship, Fanduel sponsored in Chicago in September. So big things on the horizon. Life's good right now.
You got a couch for me? I'm crashing, man. I'm coming. I'm not sure if you're aware. Did you get the memo? I'm coming to Saskatoon.
We sure do. We got lots of space. Moved into the new house in April, so we're good.
Oh, I thought you already have you moved in several houses? Just like a third house?
No. The April was the big move.
Oh, you just moved. Okay, I got you. Fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah. Now you have some extra rooms just kind of lurking.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's exciting stuff. What, we've got about a month and 5 days until the contest going down in Chicago. I guess it's a good time to knock it out now and just mention to the people, you guys can join TJ. Of course, you can win yourself a ticket in the TJ's contest, or you can get there via the FanDuel Single Entry Series, the FanDuel Single Entry Series. That's right, it's back. $50,000 in bonus cash that's up for grabs. Right now, we're in week two of 6. There are currently 2 contests going on FanDuel right now, the $2 variety, the $100 variety. The $100 variety I saw actually was not sold out not too long ago because it was like 400 people or something like that. I'm not sure if you happen to have it open right now, TJ. Do you know if that's still up for grabs? Yeah, it looks like there's still 100 spots. Are you in it tonight?
I'm in the $100 one. Of course, can't get into the $2 one, but yes, I am in there today.
Yeah, humble brag. I can't get in there either. Kiko Alonso was just signed by the Giants. There you go. No, the Saints. There you go. For some reason, I was thinking the baseball player Alonso, and I was thinking like
you
that
combine Pete Alonso and Kike Hernandez, and
yes. And there's another. Who was the guy? There's like a Met that was named Alonso, and I'm like, that guy's still playing baseball. Not Pete, but a different one. I just saw it going across. Don't read Twitter when you're in the middle of like doing a read. But yeah, if you guys are not aware, the FanDuel Single Entry Series, they take your 4 top scores throughout the week, Monday through Sunday. Hopefully you've accumulated a couple scores along the way. Set yourself up nicely. If you haven't partook just yet, you can knock it out on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and just say, I just need 4 games. I need 4 slates. I'm going to smash every single one of them. The top team in each tier, the top cumulative 4 scores in each tier moves on to Chicago. Get yourself a free trip. And this is all added value to the contest. Again, it's a standard single entry contest if you guys are not aware. You know, one of the best contests there in FanDuel. It's my first $100 is going to go every single day. And whatever they run back next week, I'll be playing that to 25, the 50, probably that's how it's going to go down. But yeah, $10,000 up for grab for first place. I believe it'll be 8 finalists, $50,000 total prize pool, 10K up top. That'd be pretty sweet, TJ. If you can win that and you scoop both pots. Is that possible? I guess you got a chance.
You got a chance. It's not going too well so far. I've been getting a lot of min cashes in those single entry series, but never anything up top.
You might need like a min cash or 2 might not be terrible because you got to get 4, and nobody's going to fire like bullseye every single one. But you need 4 respectable scores. But you're right. You probably need, obviously, you definitely need some ceiling scores.
Yeah. Where do we find those standings? I have honestly no idea if I'm anywhere near the top.
So you go to RotoGrinders, RotoGrinders.com, and let's see. I did, it's a good point. The banner was there last week. I don't see it right now, but I was very sad. I was typing, like, I wanted to see where I was at, and it shows like the first 100 names or so, and you type your name in, and it's like not seen. I'm like, I guess that means I'm just not in the first 100. And it's like, hey, RG members only. I'm like, this will knock out some people. Now I got a shot, and still, nope, not in the first 100. You can kind of click through, and eventually, I guess you can get to yourself. But I got too sad and depressed that I stopped. So I'm like, it's not happening for your boy.
Well, what made me sad is I went over to the RG rankings and I saw they added in all the recent contests. They've added in everything for the last month, and it hadn't updated for a long time. And I was thinking, I've had a pretty good month. I'm probably going to be bumping up there in the rankings. I don't know if just the overall ranking hasn't adjusted yet, or if it just didn't happen, but I didn't move at all in the overall ranking. I was so sad.
I don't think it's moving because mine has. I just pulled mine up as you're talking about it. It's not changed. Last time I looked at it, and that was, I would say, multiple weeks ago. I think.
So maybe that's just like the last thing that hadn't updated. Because I was gonna say I'm in the. I guess August is only 4 months in or 4 days in, but I'm 75th in the monthly ranking.
That's baseball specific, I guess. Where is monthly ranking?
No, that's everything. It's just below overall tournament player of the year, monthly ranking, whatever weight class you're in for entry fees, and then MLB, NBA, NHL, PGA for me.
You know what? Now I'm curious. This is important stuff.
What's your MLB?
I don't. Well, I got to find it. I don't really know how to.
You just click your profile and scroll down.
Okay. Let's see my profile. This is. Do people care about this? Is this stuff interesting? I'm not sure.
We got only an 8-game slate, a lot of time, only 2 of us. People know to hit the like button, and we're gonna get a Spidey bomb every 50 likes during GrindersLive. But we got some time today. We can rip through this.
Oh yeah. Before we do that, I do want to mention we ran a little contest yesterday here. Producer Devin on the fly put together a contest with the people in chat. What up, chat? Do hit the like button kindly. We appreciate that. Keeps the proverbial lights on. Helps out with the ego. Lets us know we're doing okay. Hit the buttons, hit the things, turn on notifications, subscribe. Yeah, there was a contest that Devin threw down, and the winner would get some RG swag. Now, I don't know what precisely that means. I guess maybe a hat, maybe a shirt.
It was a shirt, I think I saw Devin say in chat.
What is it? It
was a shirt I saw say in chat.
All right, there you go. Sweet. Yeah, I think we had like 25 people participate. I min cashed. Of course I did. I finished 5th or something like that in there. And I was tweeted by the winner. Let's give a shout out to the winner, Okie. Well, Okie's the Twitter name. Jimmy Love Day. And the actual DK screen name is JLoveDay25. So congrats to you. I presume yourself and Devin have acquainted yourself with each other, and you've given the information, and Devin's going to be sending a shirt along your way. We'll be doing that kind of stuff more often. I know we ran the low ball not too long ago. That was kind of fun. We're running back the Beat Mean Dean contest. Tell the people about that in a little bit too. We'll wait until we get a bigger audience. You know, they grows throughout the day. But if you're curious, if you want to enter, if you want to call me out, I'll just tease it. Check out my Twitter at DFS_almanac. I'll go ahead and drop the link in the chat, but you got to respond there. And somebody's got a chance, TJ, to win. I'm doing this thing like, I'm undefeated. It's unprecedented. I'm like Joe DiMaggio over here, 3-0. It's not that, small sample size, but for every single week I stay undefeated, TJ, we're going to add another week free for the people. So 5 weeks free. RotoGrinders Premium. All you got to do is beat me in head-to-head. It's not that hard. I've lost a pile of head-to-heads throughout my life, a million, thousands at least. But yeah, there you go. We'll drop the link in chat for the people, and be creative. If creativity helps. The more creative you are, more likely the chance that you'll get called out. I like you on the show, TJ, for multiple reasons, but especially because you beg and you grovel, you get those likes up there. I don't know what the under/over is, but smash the over, because you and Spidey, you're going to make it work. We're going to get over 100 at least, I imagine.
I hope so. We didn't get the typical jump that we usually do after announcing the Spidey bomb. We already got over 100 people watching, so I want us to get that number 50 nice and get that number 50 likes nice and quick so we can give away the Spidey bomb. Yesterday's was who was yesterday's? I know it hit. I can't remember.
It was Teoscar Hernandez. I was watching the show.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez hit yesterday for the Spidey bomb. It's been going well, so hit that like button and let's get it. What's your MLB ranking, Dean? Stop dodging the question. I want to know if I'm better than you.
Hold on. Well, I mean, to be fair, like, no matter what my ranking is, no matter what your ranking is, I don't think this is like the end all and be all of who's better. And there's no perfect catch-all stat of who's better and whatever. My current MLB ranking is 226 out of 12,776.
You got me. I'm 308.
So I'm better. Forget what I just said. I'm definitely.
It's not the end all be all, Dean.
No, what do you mean? It says right here. What number is better, 226 or 300? Who's closer to the pin?
You got it.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. And a lot of contests are not. Certain contests are not accounted for. I think they have to be like at least $10,000 or something like that. And
I only play on one site, so I feel like that hurts my rankings.
What one site? I thought you play on DK as well. I know you play on Fanduel a ton.
Just FanDuel. I'll play like if I'm on a show and we're going through a DraftKings build and I'll really like it, I'll throw a lineup in. But I basically strictly play FanDuel. Shout out to our sponsor.
Kirkwood in chat says, "Imagine talking rankings, talk 1099s," and yeah, he's right. The 1099 is a better. That number is more important, I think, than the ranking.
I wouldn't know it. I wouldn't know what that is because I don't have to put DFS on my income tax.
Oh man, Canada, it's a beautiful thing. I've heard good things. I've been to Canada several times. I've enjoyed it. Maybe I'll become an honorary citizen and
this house I'm now living in is my 1099. This is 2021 and 2022's this 2021's DFS winnings in this house right now.
Phil Phil in chat. What's up, Phil? Phil says I usually listen on the RG stream. Dean looks ridiculous. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if this is like his first time seeing me and like this is just like standard or like, oh, wait a second. I recognize that voice, but that dude looks a little bit different.
Is this the same Phil Lewis that is Mr. Mosby from The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody?
Dude, that is, I mean, I've never felt so old. That's the oldest sentence I've ever heard in my life. That was like a Nickelodeon show or something like that.
Disney Channel.
Disney, yeah. I was way too old. I'm aware of that show. I've never heard that title before, but I was more of like I'm more of like in the Full House, not Fuller House.
Remember the little kid from Big Daddy?
The kid that peed everywhere, right?
Yeah,
sure.
So that was actually two kids that they're twins, and it's their show. It was their Disney Channel show.
That makes sense. Yeah, like a lot of times they use twins for because of
Full House, Mary Kate.
There you go. I was just gonna sing one of the songs that I know by them, but that really would make me. Do you know I Am the Cute One? She's just my sister.
No,
I don't know how I knew that
song. A funny Olsen story I always like telling is like Elizabeth Olsen, who's obviously by far the most famous one now because she's the Scarlet Witch in the MCU and many other things throughout Hollywood. But a paparazzi ran up to her and was like, "How come you're so much nicer than your sisters?" And she was like, "Because you guys haven't been bothering me like this their entire lives. They're just sick of you." And it was pretty darn funny. But let's get into this baseball slate. We talked earlier about how it's kind of gross. There's some bats that we like a little bit, but pitching is all over the place. What's your general thoughts at pitching today? I think I only see one potential diamond in the rough I'm somewhat interested in.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest K rate on the slate is Jeffrey Springs at 26%, which is fine, but that's not elite. I'm curious now. I didn't look at this, but I mean, I'm sure in my head it's not very high. Who has the highest projected total, or at least the over-under total as far as strikeouts? I'm guessing like nobody has more than 7. Nobody's got more than 6, if I'm reading this correctly. Verlander's total, according to our lineup page, the juice is in the over, but Verlander at 5.5, and Verlander's 40 coming back from surgery, and he's been spectacular. He's probably going to win the Cy Young. He's in the path to win the Cy Young this year. But the strikeouts they're fine, but they're not elite, nowhere where they once were. Kyle Wright seems overpriced. 4.5 strikeouts is our projected total. Your boy Manoah, I love Manoah. He's fine after that elbow issue last game. 5.5 is the number. Now the juice is in the over at 148. So probably if you pull up Cardi's bat, I would imagine somewhere it's around 6 strikeouts projected. Point is, there's not one pitcher that at least is projected or looks to be throwing, 7 innings and striking out 10 and just quote unquote breaking the slate. But the other part is, and we'll talk about it, hitting is, 8-game slate. It's one of those weird ones where it's a middle. It's middle. Like the hitting is middling, the pitching is middling, and really nothing is spectacular. Nothing really stands out for me, neither from hitters or pitchers. I'm pretty sure I have a guess who your quote unquote diamond in the rough may be. Is it a person you've just heard of their existence today?
No, but I do agree that guy's not a bad DraftKings play. I wouldn't be playing him on FanDuel where he's priced up. But Stevie and I actually talked about him on the morning grind. And he's Here, I have him X'd out of my FanDuel pool, so I'll put him back in here so I can remember his name. Cole Reagans. I definitely think you want to keep him in your DraftKings pool. FanDuel, I don't think I'm getting to him. What's interesting is he's a big changeup guy. That's his primary pitch. And so he's a lefty facing a Chicago White Sox team with a ton of righties in the lineup and a ton of righty power in the lineup, which with that changeup, like, yeah, maybe that could go all right. Jose Abreu was the standout guy in that lineup that hits changeup super well. But this team's just getting healthy. Like, they don't have Robert in the line, or sorry, him. Oh, they do have Jimenez in the lineup today.
Okay, so Robert is back, and I goofed yesterday. I misread it. I thought he was like going on the 60-day and like gone, but no, he's coming back.
So so like Tim Anderson, Robert, Jimenez, Abreu, Vaughn, Moncada, Pollock, Grandal, Harrison. I don't really want to be playing a 100% right-handed lineup and a lineup that's got a lot of power. So I'm totally out on FanDuel, but with his DraftKings price, I definitely think you keep him in the pool.
What's your approach tonight? You said you're playing FanDuel exclusively. I'm playing both, for the record. I'm playing both FanDuel and DraftKings, but are you running your typical 150? You're running like 3 main lineups? How are we approaching it?
Just one lineup for me today. Wedding's coming up, working on some bankroll management. You know, had to withdraw a hefty amount from the FanDuel account to pay for some wedding stuff. So I'm taking it easy today until that the WFBC happens. I'm just gonna keep it relaxed, keep it chill.
Yeah, but if you think something, though, all of a sudden you can like take a honeymoon anywhere you want to go. But yeah, bankroll, man, I'm the same way. I err on the side, probably too conservative historically.
I'm very, very poor at bankroll management.
Okay.
And so this is a conscious effort with something as big as a wedding that I'm just being like, don't be an idiot. Like, use this to be like, all right, you have something big coming up. Focus on that instead. Don't put all your time into the DFS. So I'm trying to use it as a calm the addictive personality a little bit and have a good reason to set some boundaries for myself.
Mr. Richard in chat says 2 games with weather. I didn't think there was anything too crazy. Did Roth update it, or did I just misremember? Okay, so we got Tampa Bay at Detroit, one of the most popular pitchers there on the Tampa Bay side, yellow-orange. Roth will be on in about an hour plus or so, closer we get to the game, more information we have, and he'll give some further thoughts on it. But I'll go ahead and drop this link in chat for the people. But, I mean, we're going to talk about it as if it's going to go, subject to change. Houston, Cleveland, yellow-green. That's one of those that if you look at the lineups page, TJ, and I was looking at it last night, I think it was like, if you have the the RG link that connects like to your DK account. Last night I was looking at lineups like Houston was showing up like orange or red. I'm like, oh, this can't be good. But I think basically it looks worse than it may actually be. I don't want to speak on weather, but if you look at the Houston Cleveland game, according to the lineups page, precipitation chances by hour 59, 60%, 62, 65, 67. But I don't think it's that bad. Again, yield to Roth, see what he says. He currently has a yellow-green, so that might be one of those deals where it's just misleading and looks worse than it actually most likely is going to be. Philadelphia, where we're going to be getting some bats, I presume, yellow-orange also. But nothing crazy. There's no orange first. That's like when I get alarmed. Is that kind of where you're at, TJ? Obviously, he puts the predominant color first. Orange and red are the scary ones. Yellow first is, keep an eye on it, see what Roth has to say. But as of right now, I'm not freaking out.
So 2 things. I like looking at the reports as opposed to just the colors, because if you actually look at Roth's report on the Tampa Bay Detroit game, he says in words, I'm putting this at yellow-orange, even though, oh yeah, that is what it has, yellow-orange. I mixed up those colors in my head. Never mind. But the reason why I'm most worried about that game is not necessarily the colors, but because there's a bunch of slow-moving stationary downpours around the ballpark. These could be ones that come in during the game, not just something that we get a late start for. And so if it doesn't hit the ballpark, great. But if Springs is going to be end up being the chalkiest pitcher of the night, and he's also the most likely one to get knocked out because of a delay, and it's not like he's that anything special, that to me tells me he's the player I'm the most likely to get off of.
He's also, doesn't have this incredibly long leash as is. And if it's a delay of maybe an hour, hour and a half, or maybe whatever, if it's a little bit long, he's not coming back. Like some certain veterans, they'll come out after an hour and a half and it's no big deal. It's nothing. But I don't think, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I would guess that they would err on the side of caution more so than not with a guy like Springs.
Yeah, big time. I agree with you.
All right. A lot of protections just came out, by the way. Semien, Seager, Heim, Lowe, Garcia, Tavares, Duran, Hernandez, and Thompson. Anything else interesting as far as lineups? I know George Springer is back, which is nice to see. I was bummed pre-show that Houston's lineup, no Mancini and no Tucker. I really like Houston. I still do, but like less because those are hitters I wanted to play. Yeah, it's just weird that they're not playing Mancini today, especially after Tucker getting scratched. I think he would have jumped in, but I guess maybe McCormick jumped in or something like that. I see Eric in chat. He's talking all sorts of smack against me. He wants to take me on in the Beat Mean Dean contest. And again, have at it. We'll drop the link in chat. We'll talk about it a little bit further later on in the show. We get a bigger audience, let the people know. But it's going down tomorrow. He was asking what site we'll be play on. I yield. If you want to play on Fanduel, we'll play on Fanduel. If you want to play on DK, we'll play on DK. I'll be the visiting team. I'll play on your turf. And he's trying to tell me how terrible I am too. And I want to play Eric just because I know he's going to stack the ace against me, and I'll lose, and it'll be just amazing. And also, I think Kirkwood, who is betting against me every single time, not advisable, but that's what Kirkwood's been doing, and he's martingaling it. And I think he's going to bet against me again. I mean, that seems like a good strategy to pick Eric, right? Because I get another $100 out of Kirkwood. What do you think?
Yeah, there you go. Might as well keep it rolling. Keep adding to the bankroll.
How long do I let Kirkwood martingale it? Like at some point, I'm going to lose. Like it's inevitable. It's math, right?
This would be the last one. I'd lock it after this one. I'd lock it after this one.
But I don't want to cut him off though, because that feels kind of rude, especially if he's taking, he's not getting his money in good. Let's say if he's playing, if I'm playing against a DK, like an Oakland A stack or something like that.
Get some kind of deposit, some kind of down payment, and then you can keep a portion going.
Yeah, I mean Kirkwood's good for it. He's good for. He gets a 1099, as far as I know. Historically, he's done very, very well in DFS. I don't know how his bankroll management is. I'm too conservative. You're too. You can get a little goofy sometimes, but I think he can handle $100. I think he'll be okay. I mentioned Verlander. How do you feel about Verlander? Like I don't love him, but I have the money for it. I think is this kind of where I'm at. So I guess I might as well play him.
I'm sticking in the cheaper range for me today, I think. But if I'm going to pay up, I definitely think I do like him above guys like Kyle Wright and stuff like that. But I think I'd rather stay in the cheap range today. This Cleveland team just really doesn't strike out. They have 3 guys in the lineup who strike out, and that's it. And you got Jose Ramirez, Josh Naylor, Jimenez, even Nolan Jones, who's been hitting the ball well, kind of all in a row there. Rosario's been hitting the ball really well lately. He's Justin Verlander, so we can always put up a huge upside game. I would just rather save salary.
We got Tim Tasteful Tides. How do I play against Dean in a head-to-head? People just want to call me out now. I mean, this is for the people. This is for RotoGrinders Premium, and I imagine Tim has he knows a guy. He's got the premium hookup. So I mean, if he just wants to do it for bragging rights, I guess we can do that. I don't think it's plus EV to play against him. I mean, I think we would kind of just throw rake back and forth at each other. But yeah, I mean, this is for the people, Tim. But hey, if you want to play head-to-head, we can do it. We can make it happen. I see in chat that Matt Kirby says Verlander K-prop is sketchy. Well, you're not rostering him for the Ks necessarily, which is weird because he's expensive. And again, you're focusing on FanDuel, and I think he's less appealing over there on DK. It's easier to make stuff work. You got an SP2 that can kind of open up salary. You're kind of getting him for efficiency and eating innings, but man, you're right. The strikeouts there, Quan at 6.5% against righties. That's just brutally low. That they don't have Franmil Reyes in the lineup anymore, who is a power bat, but he struck out a good bit. There are some Ks there, but I don't know. He probably strikes out 4 to 6, right? That's okay? And I don't know who else is going to beat that. Maybe somebody, probably somebody. Well, what if we hypothetically lose Springs? Who's your pivot away from it?
So the guy I was talking about earlier, and this is definitely interesting because Roth just updated his weather report. I dropped it in chat, and it actually looks now like we are more likely to have issues with Syndergaard as opposed to issues with Jeffrey Springs, because a late start would increase his worry of a postponement. And if they don't do that, he thinks the most likely outcome would be a delay. And so because of that, that would maybe knock Syndergaard out depending on how long the delay is. And you look at his updated Tampa Bay and Detroit, a few slow moving storms around delay or late start is possible if one pops over the ballpark, but I think it's unlikely we see anything long-lived enough to cause trouble beyond that. So with a guy with a short leash like Springs, it definitely potentially causes issues. And the lineup of all right-handed batters definitely does worry me for this. But I think my pivot is going to be Jose Quintana.
Man, this is why I hate the slate. Like, I think Quintana's going to be like, okay, he's going to be fine. You're certainly not winning any slates because of Quintana, but he should just be fine, right? And that, I guess, is good enough.
Ooh, we do have a Cubs game 2 lineup now, and yes, it does look like it's almost completely that right-handed lineup. Let's refresh here. No Ortega. I was hoping we'd get a couple lefties in there just to boost those strikeouts, because Quintana has been like dominant in terms of striking out left-handed batters, but we're only looking at a 20% rate for those righties.
Contreras played the first game. I believe he homered. He's back again. Morel
0 left-handed bats.
How many?
0.
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer. Morel, Contreras, Wisdom, Suzuki, Horner, Velasquez, Schwindel. Higgins is the actual catcher, and then Madrigal. Okay, sure. Anything else? I feel like I just got an alert. Any other lineups popping through? You know what's interesting about the slate? It's kind of a sprint slate, right? It's over fast. There's no West Coast games.
I like that quite a bit. Nice early bedtime. The other pitcher that I think is very interesting for tournaments that we haven't mentioned yet, Stevie and I were talking about liking him quite a bit for tournaments. He's not projecting very well in the bat, but that's Carlos Carrasco. Atlanta's a high strikeout team. Obviously, they got a lot of power in there as well, but you don't really care about risk in tournaments because every single pitcher on this slate has risk. So he's somebody that could put up a big ceiling that I'm somewhat interested in for tournaments as well.
I'm taking a peek as far as that Atlanta lineup today. I think it's standard, right? Acuna, Swanson, Olsen, Riley, Rosario, Darno, Ozuna, Arcia, and Harris is back. This season, Carrasco, fine strikeouts, not spectacular, 23%. The walks are pretty good at 6.4% as well. But like you said, that Atlanta lineup, there is some power, but they will strike out also. And the guy that strikes out the least for Atlanta, man, it's Darno at 21.8%. These are all guys that strike out in the 20s. 24.5% collectively. So I don't mind that Carrasco call. You don't really want to pick on Atlanta, some good hitters, obviously. But, you got to assume that Carrasco is going to get 4, maybe 6 strikeouts. So, he's probably going to give a couple runs as well. Good ballpark to pitch into. I'm okay with him. He's in my pool. Yeah, he's there. But it also kind of speaks to the old nature of the slates. I'm pulling up our rankings, by the way, and, we both like Springs, and Springs dollar for dollar looks like the best play, assuming like weather is all good to go. He is our best dollar for dollar play on DK. We have Verlander behind, then Syndergaard. Again, stay tuned for weather on that. And now I just hope that we can get some Philly bats too, because that could be a mess all around. Your boy Manoah, I'm curious your thoughts on Manoah. I don't think you talked about him. And then this, the question mark for Texas, 5.1K on DK, more of a DK play than a FanDuel play. Quintana at 6.7, I think it's pretty solid. And then there's Stroman at 8K, who's, just sort of fine, but he's that, the classic better on real life as opposed to DFS. Anything distinctly different on our Fanduel rankings? Well, Syndergaard's 7.7. Verlander's a little bit higher, so he's third at 11.2K. Give me your thoughts on Manoah.
If you can afford Manoah, I think he'd probably be my cash game pitcher today. You got the discount on DraftKings, a small one on FanDuel, not a very big one, but a small one. And so if you don't want to play him there, I get it. To me, he's the safest guy on the board. The best bats, other than Polanco, for the Twins are all right-handed. Correa, Buxton, even Miranda and Sanchez are guys who have shown power. And Manoah is an elite strikeout pitcher to right-handed bats. He strikes out 30% of them, doesn't give up any power. He's great. He doesn't, however, strike out any lefties, and they have 5 lefties in the lineup. And other than Polanco, maybe a little bit of Gordon, Arias, like they're not worrisome, but I'm still kind of concerned about the ceiling. And so Manoah to me is the safest pitcher on the slate, but I don't know how big of a ceiling he has, and that's why I find myself in tournaments gravitating towards some of these cheaper guys. Like Carrasco to me is the just polar opposite of Manoah. I think he's got a higher ceiling. I think he's got a much, much lower floor. And that's kind of where I'm stuck with right now is if I'm playing my one lineup on FanDuel, do I want to go to the Carrasco Manoah range? Probably Carrasco because he's quite a bit cheaper than Manoah there. Or do I want to just take every single bat I want to get and roll them with Jose Quintana?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're playing on FanDuel, you essentially can turn it into a pick'em, more or less, right? If you're rostering on FanDuel, if you're rostering Quintana at 7.7 or Springs at 7.4 or Syndergaard at 7.7, you can basically get yourself a pick'em. Just make your, obviously, not literally, but you know what I mean. You're going to get some pretty powerful, at least talent bats. I don't know how great positions they happen to be in, but I think that's the way I'm leaning too. And
the toughest thing for me on FanDuel today is like every single bat I want to play is either a first baseman or an outfielder. Like the positions are just so wildly strong today. The teams I like are Philly, Houston, and Chicago White Sox. And so I want to play. And I mean, how close are we here? We're 3 likes away from the first Spidey bomb. You got 200 people watching right now. So hit the like button. Let's get at least bare minimum 2 Spidey bombs before the crunch time crew gets in here. But I'd love to do 3. The first one's Jose Abreu. He's just in a phenomenal spot against a changeup throwing left-handed pitcher. And he just absolutely smashes changeups. So Jose Abreu is going to be the first Spidey bomb of the day. And the tough thing is, it's like, do I want to play Abreu or do I want to play Hoskins? That's the biggest thing I'm struggling with right now. And I can't really play both because I looked at the outfield and I got Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Schwarber, who just feel like walks to hit home runs today. And they're going to be super chalky.
Especially Schwarber. I think Schwarber. Like jump off the page. Yeah.
And so Nick Castellanos is the chalky, cheap option who's finally been hitting the ball better lately again. But I really want to play Luis Robert and Eloy Jimenez as well. So lineup construction is tough because there's just all of these guys that I want to play, but I can basically do whatever I want with them if I stay in the 7K range for pitchers.
Cheyenne's got a question in chat. Jose Abreu was homered in 2 games in a row. Do you take this into account at all, or do Spider-Man take it into account, I suppose I should ask?
What was that? Sorry, I missed that.
Jose Abreu, he's homered in 2 straight games. Is that something that's taken into account when it comes to the Spidey bombs? Is a Spider-Man, is he a hot streak guy?
A little bit. Take into account a little bit. Long-term things it doesn't really consider into my mindset a little bit, but on a day-to-day basis, I believe that it's not something that can be quantified, but I believe like when a professional athlete is feeling themselves and seeing the ball well, they hit it better. I think that makes sense. And so I didn't take it into consideration today. But it's Spidey thinks about it sometimes. There's a question in the YouTube chat, and I trust people are just going to keep hitting the like button. Let's do it. Just keep pounding it. Free content, baby. Courtesy FanDuel. Somebody asked a question about the person who was going to be my second Spidey bomb, so I'm just going to let it loose early. We're feeling good. I'm feeling thankful for the viewers. Rafael Devers is Spidey Bomb number 2. Chris Bubic has some reverse splits tendencies for power. And Rafael Devers, I think, is going to be a very low-owned, very high upside option today.
So I saw Kirkwood in the chat talking about his Red Sox and Pivetta facing the Royals. Man, and I know Cheese wrote about this in his article today about just trying to make the Royals happen. And like every time I play the Royals, they just never happen. I bet on the Royals to go over and it's just not happening. And, you know, it's my own personal fetch. Like maybe they're just terrible and they kind of sort of are. And, you know, and they're getting worse, right? What about Pivetta against this Kansas City Ball Club, which, you know, their catchers are pretty good hitting catchers. Melendez, I guess he's in the outfield these days, or he's DHing. Witt is really good. We like Vinny Linguini, the Italian nightmare, Vinny Pasquantino. He keeps hitting the ball hard and just not like getting rewarded for it. Those homers are coming. I swear, if you look at his like StatCast stuff, I think the homers are coming. He smashed a bunch in the minors. The back end of that lineup's pretty bad. Strikeouts in Dozier and Taylor. Lopez is a contact guy, but he's not going to homer, obviously. Pitching is rough today. Is it rough enough to consider Pivetta?
Yeah, I guess if you're playing lots of lineups, I have more interest on DraftKings than I do on FanDuel. I don't really have any interest in Pivetta on FanDuel. But on DraftKings, I think you can play him, but I do like the Kansas City stack better. Even the mini stack, Sal Perez, Pasquantino, Bobby Witt Jr., like, I love that.
I love it too. And then they put up 2 runs. And then like, well, what am I doing playing Kansas City every single day?
Yeah, they'll put up 2 runs though, and there'll be 2 runs that are solo homers each from Witt and Salvador Perez, and you'll be happy.
Yeah, I guess so, I suppose. Anything else that's of note? Anything else we should talk about as far as pitchers? Kyle Wright's pitching. We didn't really talk about him. He seems overpriced, right? But like, doesn't mean you can't play him, I guess. Anything else that's worth saying here?
I don't think so. I think that's basically it from the pitching standpoint today.
Give me the summary. I know you've reiterated throughout the show, but you know, people kind of come sprinkling in throughout. I just showed up to the show 3 minutes ago. I want to know who TJ likes, who's in his pool.
The other day when you told, I don't even remember who it was, but like I think it was maybe Tim and Kirk Dees. You asked them for a recap. And It was literally like you were asking for the recap as I clicked onto the show. So I was like, this is perfect.
See?
So yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind giving the recap at all.
What were you doing that you missed the first half of the show?
Wedding planning, man. I'm always doing stuff. And either Agents of Fandom, RotoGrinders, or wedding. That's my whole life right now.
Yeah, well, you got to multitask, man.
And so up top, Verlander and Manoah. I think Verlander probably is the higher upside option. Manoah is a little bit safer. On DraftKings, I'd rather go to Manoah in cash. On FanDuel, I think I'd probably rather go Verlander if you're looking to pay up. Personally, for me, I like the low end. Check the weather, wait on Syndergaard and Springs, make sure you can play them, but I like them both despite the ownership. Jose Quintana is going to be the guy that's coming in lower owned that I like as a pivot off of them. On DraftKings, I think you can play Reagans, but I'm going to be stacking against them. And then my favorite guy for tournaments to mix in is going to be Carlos Carrasco.
Let's talk about the hitting and across the board unanimously. Myself, Keith, Grant, Dave Potts, Cheese is good. We all put Philadelphia first. They're number 1. Then it's Houston consensus wise. Then it's Tampa, like a team I hate stacking. They're missing some of their key pieces, obviously. St. Louis, Boston, KC, Toronto got a little bit of love, but it's just sort of this mishmash. I guess we should talk about Philadelphia first. They are the clear number 1 team, and again, there's potential weather lurking. Be aware. Roth will talk about that in about 50 minutes or so, 45, whatever it is, give or take. Stick around. Roth's going to give his report. I'll give you some more information. What's going on in Philly? Is that justified, Philadelphia? If you were doing rankings today, would you have Philadelphia as your top stack?
Yeah, I did the expert survey today, and I had them in there as my top stack. Like Kyle Schwarber and Rhys Hoskins, just how do you not play those 2 guys today? They're in such a good spot. Their biggest negatives is strikeout rate, and Espino just doesn't strike anybody out. He's giving up over 50% hard hit rate to left-handed batters this year. Like Schwarber, even though he's chalky, like it just feels like a lock to hit one out of the park today. And so he's going to be hard to get off of the lineup I have right now. I have him in it. Hoskins is the guy I'm fading because I like getting to some Jose Abreu. But to me, Philly feels like good chalk today. I'd rather get way off the board at pitcher than at bats just because like some of these bats are just in such great spots.
Yeah, and you mentioned Hoskins, and like on a site like DK, you can't play Derek Hall's in the lineup, right? I assume he's in the lineup. Yeah, like you can play them both, obviously, on FanDuel on DK. You're kind of put to a decision. You can't play all three on FanDuel if you're including Real Muto because that's catcher and first base is put together. Beyond Philly, who I just feel like if it's going to be extravagant as far as the ownership, and I really think it's going to be big. I don't know who's going to beat them, and I just don't know if it's the best chalk in the world. But like your Schwarber is just going to be insane. Let's just put a refresh. Let's see what he's projected as far as ownership. So I feel like in my head, he's on in like an 8-9 game slate. He's going to be 30% owned.
I think so too.
Is that a reasonable number?
Yeah.
Let's see what we have. I happen to have the bat ownership projections up
on FanDuel, where he's like $3,500. I think he's definitely going to be like, especially in high dollar stuff. I bet you he's going to be 40 plus.
Yes, we always talk about that when high dollar stuff or single entry stuff or 3 entry stuff. The good stuff, the chalk always rises and gets even higher. Yeah, we got Schwarber. This is the bat ownership projections. I'm sure the plate IQ is similar but different. 32% for Schwarber. Jordan at 28%. Castellanos super cheap on both FanDuel and DK tonight. Good salary saver, and like you said, he's been hitting better of late. We're looking at 19%. Acuna has been tumbling in price, but he's just not been producing. I mean, he's facing Carrasco, not a great ballpark, but like I still like that skill set. JD Martinez, assuming his back is okay.
You like the skill set of singles
for Acuna?
Yeah,
I know. But I mean, look, well, how far back do you want to go? Like historically, that's obviously
not I know it'll turn around. I think like I'm just gonna wait for it to. Honestly, like we've talked about things before. Like obviously Michael Harris is out right now, but just things like
he's back.
He's back today. Take out Acuna in your stack, put in Michael Harris, and you'll win all the money. Like I'm all for that strategy as well.
But you know that like long term, and I like Harris. You know, long term, Acuna is a better baseball player than Harris.
Yes, 100% without a doubt. We got almost 250 people watching now. Hit the damn like button so we can give out more home runs.
You're getting aggressive, DJ.
Click it.
I appreciate the
aggression. Smash it.
Smash it. Whatever. What is your adjective of choice when you mess with the button, the like button? How do you like to hit it or tap it?
Caress it. I caress it. I'm pretty soft with the like button, but clearly softness just isn't working. So if people got to like just start jumping up and down on their keyboard and their mouse to get that like button to be hit, I'm okay with that. Like there's nothing wrong with a little property damage if it means you have clicked the like button.
Gator Nation says Acuna is the new Yelich. Man, that's blasphemous.
Well, if I had Yelich instead of Hunter Renfroe in my stack to be a little different last night, I would have won quite a bit of money. So I'm still sad about that.
Yeah, that was that was a chalk city slate last night. If you like chalk did well for you. You know, the Padres put up a 5. Well, I guess, you know, it's funny. What's his name? The newly acquired third base. What position? Second base?
Drury?
Yeah, Drury. I couldn't think of his name. The guy from Cincinnati. He was the most expensive guy amongst Soto and Machado on DK, and he went out and hit a grand slam in the very first inning. So, I guess he wasn't the most highly owned. I'm sure he was the most highly owned Padre, but the Padres put up a big number, obviously, and Milwaukee did all right too, 7 or 8 runs, and Pittsburgh actually beat him with a walk-off from was it Brian Reynolds? I think hit a walk-off. O'Neal Cruz, man, that guy, he's not a perfect hitter. Like he's got holes in his swing. He's still figuring stuff out, but when he hits it, it's amazing. Like he hits rockets. I want that guy to like just be good and develop. All right. Other thoughts as far as stacks before we go around the horn, give our favorite plays position by position, and whatever's on your mind, chat. You know, feel free to throw it out. I got my eye on y'all. If it pertains to the conversation, if it doesn't, we might bring it up. Throw some stuff out there, whatever you're thinking hitting wise. But if you got anything else to say as far as stacks, say it now, or we can go around the horn.
I do think Philly's good chalk, and Houston and the White Sox are my 2 favorite stacks in tournaments. Tampa's fine. Minnesota has a higher total than you'd expect. If you want to play some of the lefties, if you're MMEing with Buxton or something like that, I don't think it's super crazy. Toronto, if I'm playing lots of lineups, I always want to get to. Same with St. Louis, and the same with Boston. But my favorite, like the best, is Philly, and then my two favorites for tournaments are Houston and Chicago White Sox.
Do want to mention, TJ, I noticed there's a little enthusiasm in your voice today, and I assume I know why. Because the NFL starts today. I kind of, sort of, somewhat, I guess, maybe, if you really want to squint your eyes and pretend like the Hall of Fame game is actually an NFL football game. But most importantly for our world, you can actually win some real live American dollars, loonies and toonies, however you want to convert it. The Hall of Fame showdown slate, that's going down tonight. PSU fans, his breakdown video is available. The NFL is back. Now is your chance to get expert projections, core plays, NFL season content, Discord content. Check that out. Sign up for a premium NFL subscription with RotoGrinders today. And again, I think I don't want to make any false promises, but I'm pretty sure this is all under the umbrella of premium. If you guys, if you beat me, whoever I pick to play against me tomorrow in a head-to-head, you would get 5 weeks free of RG Premium, all the sports with the exception of NASCAR. To my knowledge, I'm pretty sure nothing else is a la carte. Apologies if it is. All right, let's go around the horn. Fair plays, position by position. Let's start at catcher. What do you got for me?
Catcher.
Well, you're playing Fanduel, so you probably got nothing. Well, you can play Perez if you want.
There's Sal Perez. Like, I love Sal Perez. JT Realmuto is in a great spot. Those are the two top options on the board. Like, if you want to play somebody like Eric Haas, get a little bit of leverage, I think you could do that. But the two top spots on the board by far to me are Perez and JT Realmuto.
I see Shaq in chat. What up, Shaq? And talking about WNBA. Yeah, like I just clicked it on WNBA, and I think we have WNBA content. Yeah, okay. I've never played it before, I don't think. But yeah, it's a lineup HQ compatible. Talking about hockey, of course, hockey is out of season, but that will be happening soon enough. I just committed to join a hockey. What is it called? Like, not just season long, but you have that team forever.
Dynasty.
Yeah, I got suckered into that, and I don't know a lot about hockey at all, so I'm just dead money. A friend of mine just basically said, Canadian friend of mine, Pepsi 7. If you're an old school RT guy. He wants me to join his league. And I did the Fantrax league, and I finished in the podium somehow. So, like, I beat a bunch of Canadians knowing nothing about hockey.
I 50-50 split a team with you.
Hey, if you want in, I mean, you can have your own team on that card, or you can split.
I don't think I want that. It'd be more for, like, the friendship aspect and, like, the competitive. I don't think I'd want the time commitment of one for myself, but, like, I'd join a team. I'd join you.
We're going to talk. I'll slide into DMs. I'm happy to split a team with you. And are you a ringer? Do you know about it? I mean, that's kind of a rule. And they pull you over in Saskatoon, you got to be able to tell them about Wayne Gretzky and all that. Otherwise, you're in a lot of trouble, right?
Yeah. So, like, I'm good at hockey DFS, and I know a decent amount about it. Like, my NHL ranking is actually higher than my MLB one. But I followed it very closely growing up and as a young adult. Since I've started so heavily into content for MLB and playing MLB DFS so heavily, it's kind of just like I've just kind of like removed it from my brain space to make room for, oh my gosh, these dogs today. My fiance is not home and they're just going crazy at everything they see. And so I'm just kind of taking it out of my brain space, but it doesn't take much to get back in, just looking at some spreadsheets and going back, and I'm back into my normal mode.
I'm just going to want to pick all the Panthers, just for the record. I like the Florida Panthers. They did make a big trade in the offseason, and my understanding is they overpaid for Tkachuk, but we'll see.
When I was, I believe, 14, I think this was 8th grade, I did like my very first hockey draft, and something for hockey that's pretty common is just like drafts that you don't have to swap your roster around. You don't add drop. You just drop, like, do it for the whole season, and that's your team. And the very last pick in the draft, I decided to pick Patrick Kane because he was a rookie. It was 50-50 whether he was going to get sent back down, but, like, he was the top pick, right? So if he didn't, he'd probably do pretty well. And was the rookie of the year, had a ton of points, won me the draft. I won like $2,000 and I was 14 years old. It was just the best thing ever.
Michael in chat, which 5-man we like in NFL tonight? I have no clue, man. I don't know who's playing. Do you know who's playing in the NFL pre-exhibition tonight?
I got nothing. Ask me best ball questions and I got answers for you.
Yeah, there's content on the site. I'm not your guy. Although today I was writing about the Raiders, and well, I think we have a bunch of free articles for that as far as a betting perspective, DFS perspective, and I got assigned the AFC West, which is a lot of fun. That's probably going to be the most fun division in all football this season, as far as I can tell. But I know about that, and anything else I'm behind on. But I can talk about those 4 teams. Anyways, let's talk about tonight's MLB DFS slate. Let's talk about catchers specifically. The one getting the most ownership right now currently on DK. Not surprisingly, you got to spend a little bit. It's JT Realmuto at 14.7%. One of the punts is Betancourt, which I don't feel great about, but we do a little more of a salary cap, and he's 2.7K. Melendez leading off versus Pavetta, but he's kind of pricey at 4.5. Perez a little bit more pricier at 5K. It's not great. I don't mind is Keibert Ruiz. Bit of a prospect there for Washington. Has been there for a while. I was looking at betting stolen bases against against Syndergaard for Washington. He's got like 4 or 5 this season, which is a lot for a catcher. And we know how about Syndergaard, just get on base and you can swipe second. Basically anybody can. Earlier this year, we saw like 33-year-old Jesus Aguilar get his very first career stolen base against Noah Syndergaard. By the way, 42-year-old Nelson Cruz. You know how many stolen bases he has this year? 42 years old. Big boy. He's a man.
2.
He's got like 4. I think it was 4. I couldn't believe it. I was looking at it last night. Like, when did this guy steal 4 bases? How did this happen? Why is he even doing this? He gets hurt a lot. And he's running the bases.
His cardio in there.
Worst team in the league. What's that?
He's getting his cardio in there.
I mean, good for him. I appreciate the effort, but it's just wild that that's happening. Not in the lineup today for the second day in a row. Why they didn't trade him, I have no idea. Why would he still be in that team? You figure somebody could use him. All right, jump to first base. We already kind of hinted at it a couple times how you liked, Rhys Hoskins. You like first basemen in general. Derek Hall, a little bit cheaper, same team on that Philadelphia side. I mentioned the Italian nightmare, Pasquantino, trying to will that one into existence as far as his homers. I think he's got 3 in the year, but it's not enough. If you have all the funds, though, you got all the money in the world. Goldie versus a lefty historically is a thing. He's 6.1K on DK, so you got to pay for it. But I like that a good bit. How about yourself?
Yeah, Hoskins is the top play on the board, bar none. That's your cash game play. Tournament gives you a lot of good options like Derek Hall, like even Matt Olson, Paul Goldschmidt, Vlad Guerrero. But my favorite tournament option on the slate is going to be Spidey Bomb number 1. That's Jose Abreu.
Where are we at as far as likes? We got another Spidey Bomb on layaway?
I mean, we're only at 77. We got almost 300 people watching. The people just aren't feeling hitting the like button today. They all.
It turns out when you say hit the damn like button and start lecturing and yelling at them, it doesn't work.
I did more than when I asked it politely.
Start threatening them.
Apparently what happened is everybody had a rec basketball game yesterday and they all collectively jammed and broke their knuckle and their like button clicking finger. And it's become an issue. It's become a real issue. And so
it's an epidemic.
We're at 82 now. I don't think we can even talk baseball until we get back to 90. But we're back to the best ball conversation. You were talking about writing up the Raiders. I think that's ended up being my most stacked team in best ball this year so far.
It's funny. Well, like I was, they are the worst team in the best division. It's not their fault. I don't. Have you seen Good Will Hunting? You've seen Good Will Hunting, right? It's like the greatest movie of all time. Yeah. So basically, like I feel like the Raiders are. It's like Robin Williams telling Matt Damon it's not his fault. It's not their fault, but they're going to be bad this year. I think. I think I like them under the 8.5 wins. They might get 7 wins. They might get 8 wins. I don't think they're going to get the 9 because they got to face. Russ and Herbert and Mahomes, and they have a bad secondary. They're just going to get, they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. So I do like them as far as garbage points. And of course they're going to win some games too.
Well, and I've just been randomly like getting slapped with the 11th and 12th pick in drafts so often. Ooh, we're 4 likes away from being able to talk baseball again. And so it just leads me to getting Devontae Adams and at the end of the first round. And then next thing you know, nobody ever wants to draft Josh Jacobs, and so you get him and pick 85. I don't either.
Don't do it.
I don't either, but I'll take him in the 8th round. And then you throw Hunter Renfrow, Derek Carr in there, and you got and you get Darren Waller in the 3rd round. You got yourself a good time.
Jacobs, there's like 5 or 6 running backs there. They're their second guy they drafted. Now, granted, they lost some draft equity because of the trade with Adams, but Fourth rounder, they drafted a running back. Seventh rounder, they drafted a running back. They brought in the new head coach's running back from New England as well. What the other guy is still there. That guy, I can't remember that, Kenny something. There's a lot of running backs, and the key thing with him also 29th ranked offensive line, which is terrible. But the other thing is they did not re-up his contract. They could have given him a guarantee of a fifth year, but they essentially he's dead weight. He's not going to be in the team next year. He's going to be a free agent almost definitely.
So to me, that seems like they aren't worried about paying him long term, so they're going to use him a ton. He started catching passes last year. To be clear, let's get back to baseball, but to be clear, I am not saying Josh Jacobs, draft him in all your leagues, but I'm saying Josh Jacobs is projected to go in round 6, late round 5, early round 6. If he's still available in round 8, yeah, you take him.
I understand. You're saying he's a value play, and I get it. Like, yeah, in theory, he is their number one running back, but I think it's going to be a big old mess. And somebody in chat said that the Raiders are better than both Denver and the Chargers, and we'll see. Maybe. I don't think so, but we'll see.
They said Denver and the Chiefs.
Okay, yeah. I think the Chargers are the best team in that division, and I'm looking forward. 16-1 to win the Super Bowl. I know it's the Chargers, and they just always find goofy ways to lose. Like they just keep. It's like a bingo card, like all different ways you can lose football games. The Chargers have done it over the years, but I think we got a redemption season for the Chargers. We'll see. I'm hoping so, at least. Let's talk about second base.
Not as good as New Orleans Saints, 40-1.
Yeah, the Saints, man. I mean, you are an optimist if you're feeling good about the Saints.
Why don't you?
Why should I? I guess
the single only question mark on the roster is at quarterback, and that question mark has the potential to be very good.
What about Michael Thomas, the receiver? That's not a question mark?
He's going to be ready for week 1.
You feel fully confident in that?
Yeah.
Okay. And you think the question mark is Winston? If Winston's good, they're good, and that's that?
Yeah, they're going to have a top 5 defense in the league. They got a top 5 running back, a strong offensive line. Why not?
Maybe. We'll see. I don't know. Is Winston's just not like a game manager type, and is that what they're going to ask him to be? Kind of a game manager?
I mean, he wasn't throwing interceptions since he got LASIK.
Well, he wasn't doing anything, right? Like they haven't. Yeah. Well, we'll see.
They were winning.
Yeah, but like they were not DFS wise though. I'm talking. I'm conflicting both worlds, and like you said, you're talking.
Yeah, I'm talking. You want the Saints to win the division and the Saints to make the playoffs. 40-1 is good to win the Super Bowl, but I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl. But Saints to win the division and Saints to make the playoffs are two of the best value bets you can get in NFL right now.
Troy says the Saints will be lucky to win 6 games this season. Kamara is going to get suspended. My understanding is that's like probably going to get pushed off to the offseason.
Yeah, he's not even having another trial for another 3 months. He's not getting suspended. And the last time the Saints won only 6 games was 2003.
Yeah.
2004.
So, I mean, I haven't delved fully into that, but that's kind of what my understanding is. It's probably not going to be a thing this year. Who knows? Stay tuned. We'll get back on track as far as baseball. Give me your favorite second baseman, the old Keystone position.
Yeah, so second base today, Jose Altuve is going to be my favorite guy personally. Brandon Lau is the best projected play today. He's in a good spot against Hutchison. He's going to be very chalky. So Lau probably is your cash game, but I personally like Jose Altuve better. Javi Baez on Fanduel. If you want to get some leverage, he is incredibly cheap there. So if you want to play him, I can't fault you. But Aledmus Diaz and Bryson Stott are kind of the 2 other guys I'm looking at, just throwing them in my stacks, hoping they are very high owned.
Again, if you guys have anybody names that you're not hearing, why is TJ not saying this guy, talk about that guy, feel free, fire it off. Or any sort of questions pertaining onto the slate where, TJ, you don't hear me say this very often. We're ahead of pace on this. We're not.
That's why I was trying to talk about like football and things like that for so long, because it's a small slate, only 2 of us, and it's a very straightforward slate for bats. And so like pitching is basically like it's gross, do whatever you want, whereas bats is these are very obviously the top teams. So
hey, me and Chop yesterday had a 5-game slate, an hour and a half, and just I could filibuster if need be and talk about all sorts of random things. And
honestly, interesting enough, I've always kind of felt like a 2-man booth is almost better for the big slates, whereas a 3-man's almost better for the small ones, because you want more opinions for the small slates, whereas the big ones, you kind of got to rifle through it a little bit.
Well, hey, producer Devin, I believe, makes the schedule. If he's out there listening, there's your pitch.
I have no bad things to say about producer Devin, and he already knows my thoughts here, because I DM him every other day, being like, "Hey, I'll get on this show today if you want me
to." All right, we got anything else to say as far as second base, or do you want to jump to third?
Let's jump to third, and we're 7 likes away from our third Spidey bomb of the day. Our third base position, I gave Rafael Devers as my second Spidey bomb. We're projecting him for like 15 to 20% ownership-ish today. I don't think he is going to end up getting that high. People never like playing that on the lefty, and there's just other guys they're going to want to pay up for. Having said that, on DraftKings, where he's 5,200, that's a pretty darn good price tag, and so I do see him picking up the ownership on that site. Bobby Witt Jr. is another one of my favorite guy for tournaments. You can play him at third or short on Fanduel. And then Jose Ramirez, if you want to play him against Verlander, great. I have no issues there. Yandy Diaz is in a good spot. Isaac Paredes is in a good spot, and then Alec Boehm in your Philly stacks as well. Alec Bregman is the cheap option I kind of find myself going to. And then Nolan Arenado is, of course, in a good spot for tournaments as well.
Got a question in chat from Matt, just a general question. KC lefties overall versus Pavetta. So like Melendez, Italian Nightmare, Pasquantino, Lopez, Massey. What are your thoughts in general as far as the lefties against Pavetta? Pavetta, of course, has been really vulnerable against lefties this season. 193 ISO, 336 WOBA, just a little bit too high. How do you feel with the left-handers against Pavetta? We've kind of talked about KC a little bit, and they just seem to tremendously disappoint me all the time, and I keep going back to them. And the greatest predictor of future behavior is past behavior, but I don't listen.
Pasquantino would be my favorite lefty to go with there. Melendez, I don't mind, but I would just way rather use Sal Perez at that position.
Hoosiers hang banners. Dean's mustache looks similar to one of the two main characters from an 87 comedy Thanksgiving movie. Are you talking about Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Are you copying me to the John Candy? That feels like that happened in 87, and that was a Thanksgiving movie. There's not a lot of definitive Thanksgiving movies. And you probably don't even, do you celebrate Thanksgiving in Canada? That's what a naive, dumb American question. Do you have your own version of it? I guess you do. Canada Day?
Yeah, own version, different day. It's called Thanksgiving as well.
Okay. But you're aware of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles? Has that made it up the way to Canada? John Candy, I believe, is Canadian.
It might have, but it was 6 years before I was born, so I don't know.
Okay, but I saw movies they still exist. They're still available. You're allowed to get access. You don't have to put your date of birth in order to watch a movie.
That has never graced my screen. But to me, I see you more of a young Tom Selleck.
Oh boy,
looking like Richard from Friends, ready.
So how do you can make a Tom Selleck reference who was most popular in 1985, circa Magnum PI, but Planes, Trains, and Automobiles 1987 goes over your head. That's before your time, but Tom Selleck isn't.
I grew up in the 90s and 2000s, and Friends is a top 2 most popular sitcom of all time. Of course, I know my Tom Selleck.
Yeah, so it's funny because, you know what? If you're a certain age, that's not like Tom Selleck. You don't think, the guy from Friends. But if you're 30, you think the guy from Friends.
To me, he's not the guy from Friends, but he's Magnum PI. But he's the guy. That's where I was introduced to him.
Yeah, I think.
And then he's just so often referenced in popular culture because of his big mustache.
Joey's the guy from Friends, or is it Chandler, or is it
Ross? That's all 3 of them.
There you go. Yeah, I couldn't think of the third one. Or Marcel. That was the monkey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I got some Friends knowledge, even though I never really watched that show. Didn't do it for me. But all right.
Doesn't age well.
I haven't seen it in a long time. So I had a roommate and she liked it and she would watch it, and she would laugh along with the laugh track, and I don't know why that irks me. it's just like, you're such a robot. So I just never, that's I have a negative connotation with Friends for no particular reason. But
my top sitcoms are Parks and Rec and New Girl.
Parks and Rec is a really good pick. New Girl, that's one of the Deschanels, right? Zoe, maybe?
Yeah. Zoe Deschanel, Jake Johnson. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
I don't think I've seen it. I'm aware of it. It was a Fox show, but it's probably fine. Yeah, I can't say anything about it, but no laugh track, right?
No, it's just like it's one of my favorite shows for just straight up like making me actually laugh out loud. Like the banter between the roommates, it just reminds me so much of my friends, and it's pretty hilarious.
Listening to Friends with no laugh track is so awkward. Is that an option? You can listen to it without a laugh track? I didn't know that was an option.
I don't know. I watched it all the time as a kid. Don't think I've watched an episode in 10 years, 15 years.
Gator Nation is showing his age. He says Seinfeld and Maribel Children are the top two. I'm going to say Gator Nation's like 48. Maybe 40. No, 46. Over under 46. Tell me if I'm right, Gator Nation. But there you go.
I feel like Seinfeld and Friends are undisputably like the global top two.
Well, you say global. Does Seinfeld like comedy translate in like Zimbabwe or
North American top two?
I don't know. I'm not sure how popular it is internationally.
They're just without a doubt the two like most popular and most referenced.
I saw a documentary on exporting Everybody Loves Raymond. I think that was a popular show to remake all around the world, like their own version of. Yeah.
Something I found super interesting is, All in the Family. So All in the Family was one of the very first like super popular sitcoms. It like kind of gave birth to the next generation of them. And oh my gosh, what is the guy's name in it? Anyways, the guy, like the main character, Archie Bunker. Yeah, Archie Bunker's main character, right, is all about just being like, I'm an angry old man, blah blah blah, right? And it's just like kind of like
racist. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, openly racist, openly sexist. The actor playing him was the polar opposite. Was like an activist, all about social justice and like donating large sums of his paychecks to women's rights, stuff like that. So I always found that hilarious how he was just kind of like playing the polar opposite. You see that in Community as well. A character like Chevy Chase, he had to step down because he just like got to a point where he was uncomfortable playing that character.
Well, that was not a new thing. Apparently Chevy Chase was hard to work with in the 80s and the 90s, and like eventually got to a point where Chevy Chase's star fell enough where like it wasn't worth the nonsense he put people through, I think is what happened.
Apparently by the time he was an old man, it kind of like shifted to the opposite. He learned from his ways and he was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. That's not my thing. But taking it to Shortstop today.
By the way, not to cut you off, but yeah, Mr. Richard, you tell me like your 3 favorite TV shows and I can tell you how old you are. Mr. Richard says, talking about the Jeffersons. Yeah, if you're talking about All in the Family and the Jeffersons, guess how old I am? Mr. Richard is 53. Go ahead. Now, this is a fun game. Continue.
My dad's favorites are All in the Family, and All in the Family, Seinfeld, and 2.5 Men. How old is he?
You're talking about Charlie Sheen?
Yeah.
Wait. I'm sorry. Say it one more time. He's all over the place. 2.5 Men, All in the Family, and what else?
And Seinfeld. He's 65. Let's talk baseball. We're not even ahead of time anymore. Shortstop position today. We mentioned Javi Baez and Bobby Witt at other positions on Fanduel. I like both of them quite a bit. Xander Bogaerts is in a strong spot here. I don't love the Boston full stack, but I really like the Bogaerts Devers mini stack quite a bit. Corey Seager, you can always play him. Cueto can get a little reverse splitsy, but Corey Seager is fantastic. And that's kind of it outside of stacks for me. Those are really the guys I'd be looking to one-off. But the 2 guys in stacks I'd be looking to get the most are Tim Anderson and Mlb Dfs.
So apparently I banked it as far as Gator Nation. Dean nailed my age based upon 2 TV shows. And I was wrong on Mr. Richard. I was 10 years too short, 63. There you go. Herbert is saying shout out to Cheers. So Herbert is also an old, I imagine. The name Herbert too. It's an old person's name, isn't it? That's not enough.
Oh yeah, big time.
Who's the world's youngest Herbert? Like 30?
The one in our chat right now.
Is there a Herbert that's like 9 years old?
He's using the computer. You don't think this is the youngest Herbert?
Josh grew up on Martin and Fresh Prince. Josh, you're like 44. That makes perfect sense. We still have plenty of time, by the way, for the record. We still have like 15 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, plus till we yield to the crunch time crew. I believe we got STL cards, Kevin Roth talking about weather. The weather is very important as far as the slate today. So you're going to want to stick around and hear what he has to say. Hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications. And also Squirrel Patrol, who I believe is Squirrel Patrol going to be joining you in Chicago. He qualifies for every live final. So I just assume he's there as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's no way he's not. It's Squirrel, it's Christy, and then I believe Andy and Andre will be there anyways. So we're gonna have a fun time.
Eric qualified too. Eric in chat with his Oakland stack. Well, not really an Oakland stack. He likes to pretend like it was. The two worst players in his team played for Oakland, and he's like, "Shout out Oakland! I'm going to Chicago." He won in spite of his Oakland stack. I was wrong. I thought Josh said I was correct. Never 32. Josh, you were watching. Okay, so I was way off. My apologies. All right. Good times. That's another old person show. Let's talk about outfielders. We talked about Schwarber several times. He's going to be super, super popular, assuming that weather holds up. Jump away from Philadelphia. What looks good to you?
Jordan Alvarez and Kyle Schwarber are definitely the top two options. Castellanos is obviously your top cheapie, but Luis Robert is one of my favorite expensive options to go to. I don't love the Toronto full stack, but you got George Springer back there up top. I think he's a strong play as well. And Eloy Jimenez is going to be one of my favorite cheapies. If you're not playing Noah Syndergaard, I love Victor Robles on both sites as a one-off salary saving option. Leading off against Syndergaard, he's probably going to steal at least 2 bases today if he gets on base. So he's somebody I like a lot as a salary saving option. Tyler O'Neill, if he's in the lineup, is too cheap and in a great spot. But the White Sox, the Phillies, and Alvarez are kind of where I'm my mainstay is.
All right. I saw somebody in chat asking about Will Benson. Speaking of old TV shows, shout out Benson. Has he played baseball in the majors ever? This is his first. I guess he's had a couple at bats. He's playing against Verlander, so I don't like that in theory. But he has 2K on DK, and in the minors this season, he's not like a huge prospect. Is he not? 24 years old, coming into the season, 40th ranked prospect for Cleveland, but he does DFS things for what it's worth. At least in the minors, he did. 401 at bats. He had 17 homers and 16 stolen bases. So
also, there's a bunch of people in chatter keep trying to correct me, tell me it's Luis Robert and not Robert. No, it's not. It's Robert.
Are you sure about that?
I'm 1,000% positive.
That's not.
He's Cuban. That's how you pronounce the name. It's Robert.
So that's one of those things where, yeah, it's a tricky.
If you ask him, if you ask his teammates, he says Robert. There's an interview where he says it, but like any announcer who calls it Robert, they're doing it wrong.
Yeah, and sometimes they know that Americans are idiots and we're just going to mispronounce things. So just those kind of go along with. Yeah, but I want to know what do they want to be called? Yeah, I don't know, and it can go either way because obviously some go by Robert, some go Robert. I want to get it correct, and I've heard that both ways, and I just don't know. But you're giving me the official stamp that that's what he prefers.
Yeah, like if you just even Google Luis Robert pronunciation, there's a full article about how his name is so often pronounced wrong, and it's Robert.
Yeah, so Michael in chat says he's definitely Americanized his name, and that's one of those things just because we're idiots and we can't get names right. Yeah, like it's not Rudy Gobert. That's Gobert. I don't know, but okay. I will yield to you because I usually call him Robert because I'm
going to start calling him Eloy Jimenez next.
Well, yeah, I know. I understand. I've taken 4 years of Spanish, so I know that's not what I was taught. But then you hear it, and it's a whole thing. I just want to whatever they want to be called. I'm happy to call you whatever you want to be called. All right. What else do we have as far as? Let's just see what's up with the chat. Anything that's on your mind? Again, we're here 7, 8, 9 minutes until a lot of TV shows being thrown out there. We got the chat talking about the Wonder Years. That's probably before your time, isn't it? Wonder Years. Imagine. Fred Savage of the Savage family. Ben Savage's brother.
Yeah. I'm Googling Luis Robert pronunciation.
You seem distracted. So
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Aaron wants to know who was the best out of Hoskins, Gold, and Abreu on FanDuel today. Man, that's all good.
Hoskins is the answer. My favorite is Abreu.
So for what it's worth, according to Cheyenne Goldie, did homer in his first game in your model as far as hot streaks. And like my thought on the hot streaks is like, are they real? Sure. But how do you quantify them? You don't know when a hot streak starts and stops until it's over. You can look at 162 games in the season and say, okay, here it started, here it stopped. But right now, when they're in the midst of it, you can't pinpoint and say, today is the day it's going to stop. And then when you're in a hot streak, it's inevitably going to stop. So how useful is it today? Because there's just a good chance it keeps going or stop.
They're 100% real and they're 100% unquantifiable.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of the point I'm making. Yeah, there's no way you can't pinpoint because eventually, like Aaron Judge is not going to hit a home run every single day. All right, we got a question from.
We don't know that.
What's up?
We don't know that. Aaron Judge might continue to homer every day.
Fair enough, I suppose. So Derek's got a question for DK tournaments. He's running out that cheap to pitcher Ragans. I should have checked to see how to pronounce it. Ragans or Reagans with Yordan Alvarez or Thor, that's Syndergaard, with Dozier. And now the Dozier side is a part of a Kansas City stack. Which do you prefer?
If you have the Kansas City guys in there, I'd keep Dozier.
All right. By the way, I should mention, let's just throw it up on the screen that people aren't aware. I kind of talked about it earlier in the show, but we have more people sprinkling in on through. You see producer Steve is showing off all our fabulous tools, the Lineup HQ. We talk about Dave's spectacular article. We talk about the rankings. You get the optimizer, and that's all just baseball. You get all the sports, every single sport with RG Premium. And go ahead, get the RG Premium, get the product, have at it, enjoy yourself. Football season right around the corner, but there's a way where you can win it for free. And it's not even that hard. Literally like a 50-50 chance in theory. And so, all you gotta do is beat somebody in a head-to-head. You got to beat me in a head-to-head contest. I'm going to drop this link in chat for the people. Just respond to that. Be as creative as possible. If you respond with like a video, like you call me out on a video, you're going to go right to the top of the line. You might even have your video shown up on the show tomorrow. We might even show it off. Like, keep it clean, but you can go PG-13. Let's have some fun. Sure, why not? It's all in good times. Don't take anything too personal. But call me out. And I'm going to pick somebody in that thread, that Twitter thread. The Twitter handle's on the screen as well, at @DFS_almanac. Here's the prop, just in case you need confirmation. My good friend Biff hooked me up with that. Just beat me in a head-to-head contest tomorrow. You get yourself 5 weeks. It's now 5 weeks, TJ. Every single week I win, we're going to add another week. Can't put a price on that. You can, but you can't put a price on bragging rights of beating me. So, some people have already responded to that thread. Respond to that thread. Call me out. Be creative. And then I'm going to pick somebody tonight. We'll play on Fanduel or DK, wherever you want to play. I'll send you a head-to-head and beat me. You get yourself 5 weeks free of RG Premium. That sounds like a pretty good deal, right, TJ? You're making lineups anyway. Why would you not do this?
Yeah, it's a phenomenal deal. All you got to do is beat you. That's easy.
That's, like I said, I've lost thousands upon thousands of head-to-heads in my life. Izzy says, no NASCAR, not interested. Well, yeah, NASCAR is a la carte. Talk to Stevie. That's not he's got his own deal. It's a niche sport. If you like NASCAR, get the NASCAR product. But unfortunately, I can't help you out with that.
I almost feel like if NASCAR was included in premium, it would almost counteract how great the value of NASCAR is, because one of the benefits of Stevie's NASCAR package is it's a niche sport and he's so much better at it than 99.9% of all the other people who do it. So his specific data is very, very important. And so I feel like if you gave it to all the premium subscribers, it would just kind of ruin the value of it.
Stevie was on earlier this week and we were talking about doing a beard versus a mustache bet, which I might lose on purpose. Was Family Ties appointment television for you? No, I've seen Family Ties, Alex P. Keaton, but no, it was fine, I guess. But
here's the question, Dean. Do I go at this point in time? I would have 3 Phillies, 3 White Sox and 3 Houston Astros in my one single lineup.
Wait, that's too many hitters.
3 and 3. Sorry, I Phillies was a mistake, not Phillies. 3 Astros, 3 White Sox. Do I complete my lineup with Aledmus Diaz and Rafael Devers, or Tim Anderson and Kyle Schwarber?
Oh, man. Right. How many White Sox did you have with Anderson?
It'd be 4. So my stack would be completed either Houston or Chicago with Diaz or Anderson. with Schwarber and Devers being the one-off options. I'm going to ask Squirrel.
I'm going to ask
Squirrel. And when Squirrel picks, I'm going to do it.
Is he here? No, he's not here just yet. But
not here yet, no.
Josh got a question. Carrasco or Kyle Wright in tournaments? Who do you prefer?
Carrasco.
Yeah, I think I do as well. And I assume I was going to say Wright's going to be lower owned, but Carrasco's not going to be owned either, right?
Yeah, for me, it's Carrasco by quite a bit.
That's pretty much what I feel. The chat's just throwing out like 80s TV shows you've never heard of. Are you aware of Alf? Maybe you've heard of Alf. Yeah, the alien life form.
Alf was still televised when I was a kid.
You like Web? Oh, an actual baseball question. Bregman or Baum? Raw points. I prefer Bregman. I understand Philly stacks and whatever, but I would take the Bregman side. What say you?
Yeah, Bregman.
And again, happy to answer any questions that are lurking in chat, or happy to talk.
You got anything in Discord? You peeked in the Discord?
I'm doing my best to multitask, and I've not. You're talking about the premium Discord? I assume those questions are reloaded for. Let's see. That Roth will knock him out, right? Is he gonna knock him out once he gets on air with the Crunch Time crew?
Yeah, we'll see if we got anything in the meantime. Though we're just hanging out,
Is 25% Brave stacks too much? That's what Eric's asking.
Yep.
Is it too much? Maybe a little too much.
I mean, if you have 4 teams, no.
But it's actually, yeah. I mean, if you're running 100, yeah, I hear you saying. But they're actual good hitters in the Braves, so that's a positive step for Eric.
Yeah, like that. That's not a dumb stand by any means.
Yeah,
it'd be too much for me, but like the Braves are never a bad team to take a stand on. And it's not like Carrasco is unhittable by any means. He could get lit up as easy as he could go off. One of the reasons I like him in tournaments is because of that volatility.
Devin is in chat saying I might have a strong contender for a head-to-head for the live. Oh, okay. So there's something going on in the live stream chat channel. Let's go ahead and check that out in the Discord channel. There are multiple Discord channels. I'm sure you're aware. What's up in the live stream chat channel? Somebody call me out there? Is that what's going on? We might actually have a video call out here from Hutch Boy.
Oh, we do. From
so
Tim Hutchison, Hutch Boy.
All right, we'll see. That moves to the top and in the podium in the conversation. Can't actually watch it live on air, but I'll make sure to watch it and we'll see.
Dean, you got DraftKings up. Who is our question from the Discord live stream chat? Who is our highest projected DraftKings strong safety? I'm in NFL mode. Shortstop for ownership.
It's Ronnie Lott. Let's see. And now I'm on the Bat X projections, which are going to be similar, but our biggest number as far as shortstop. This is weird. Is this correct? So it's so flat. The highest projected owned shortstop is 8%. Just play whatever shortstop you like. It's actually Christian Arroyo, who's terrible. I mean, he's professionally trained and all, but he can't hit baseballs particularly well. He will have a piece of wood in his hand, like have 4 hacks at it. Bubik's not great, but he's 2K in salary cap reasons. It's Bubik at 8%. There's nobody heavily owned. Witt at 7, Bogarts at 7, Dubon at 7, Seager at 7, Anderson essentially at 7. It's literally dealer's choice, man.
Play whoever you want, and I don't know who I want to play for my one tournament lineup on FanDuel. So Squirrel, I got a QQ for you. And
yeah,
I didn't mean any disrespect to cards. I want your answer too.
Disrespect to me though. You said screw your answer.
I am more comfortable with you than I am with cards. We've been on more shows. I'm good with making fun of you because I know you'll dish it right back to me. I don't know if I'm on those terms with cards yet.
Well, you're gonna be now after you shafted me like that.
There we are. We're there now.
You want to ask Roth before you ask cards?
No. We'll leave this with cards and Squirrel. Am I playing in my one tournament lineup? Diaz or Aledmys Diaz or Tim Henderson? They both complete my stacks. Am I playing Diaz with Rafael Devers or am I playing Tim Anderson with Kyle Schwarber?
I'd go with Diaz.
Diaz and Devers. Let's do it.
Cards.
Let's do it. Gonna be lower owned.
No, I'm gonna take the other one just to spite now.
Come on. This doesn't help. That's why I wanted to ask one person so that I wouldn't be back in this same situation.
Break the tie, Roth. Yeah. Roth, you're sounding better today, I hope?
I think so. At least we're using not my fancy mic, but we're using a mic that doesn't make me sound like I'm underwater. So it should be an improvement.
Yeah, you sound fabulous. You're going to be very, very useful today. You're always useful, but today you're especially useful because we have a lot of dicey weather situations. I guess, unless you got anything else, TJ, do you want to step aside for the boys? I want to hear what Roth has to say about weather and make some lineups.
Let's step aside for the amazing Roth, the amazing Squirrel, and the perfect STL cards.
That was TJ. I was Dean. Do hit that like button for Roth, for Spidey, for everybody. We do appreciate that. Keeps the lights on for us. The Fanduel sponsor, Crunch Time. That's going to start now. Roth, give us some good news.
I'll do what I can. Appreciate it, guys. By the way, Dean and TJ look like a buddy cop show duo. Like Dean with the stash and TJ like the young gun coming in. They really look like they belong on like a cop show together. But as always, great show, gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. It is sponsored by FanDuel. If you are unaware, we got the FanDuel single entry series ongoing. It's back. It's better than ever. 50K in bonuses up for grabs. This is our second week. We're almost through it, so we're headed towards our third week. Top 4 scores each week count towards your combined score. Bottom line is, if you win, you get an all expenses paid trip to the single entry series championship on Chicago, September 9th, and a shot at the $10,000 grand prize. Basically, you win and you get money, and then you get bonus money, and then you get to go to a live final where you could win more bonus money. So it's a good thing to be involved in. And this is also a good thing to be involved in because I got 2 of the sharpest minds in the biz hanging out with me. One, Mr. STL Cards. What up, Cards? How you doing, man?
Oh, doing pretty good. My team already won a game today. We'll see if they can win 2. So that's always a good afternoon when you started off with a win. So that's the good news. The bad news is you still kind of sound like you're in the ocean, Roth.
Shit. Do I? I still sound terrible?
Well, I mean, it just comes and goes. It's like every now and again you can hear a bubble that sounds like you're underwater. It's really strange.
I don't know what to tell you. I am breathing oxygen. I don't know.
Are you sure you're not in a fish tank there?
I did just hear something. I heard something that did sound like I am in a fish tank.
It's really strange.
I think someone's just breathing heavily on their microphone, and it's not me. Or maybe it is me. I don't know. Anyways, we went through some tech checks. We're trying to figure it out. We got the best tech team in the industry, so we'll get it fixed sooner rather than later. We also have the one and only Squirrel joining us as well. Live final extraordinaire. What's happening, man?
Yeah, not much. It's weird. I'm in Falls Church, Virginia. So it's about like 10 miles west of DC, and it's like the thunder's going crazy. Like, it's not raining yet.
Yeah.
Maybe
I wonder if
what
that's
the sound is.
I think that's what the sound was.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was me breathing. I thought it was I was like trying not to breathe, which isn't a great solution.
That's not a great idea.
Right. I was like breathing very quietly. Okay, but it is thunder in the background, so that explains that. If you suddenly go dark, we will know you got your power kicked off there. But we're happy to have you here. How are you feeling about the slate, Squirrel?
Yeah, it's a nice little slate. I mean, there's some weather impacts, so we'll see how it goes. It's been an interesting couple of days. We've had some like chalk pitchers kind of bust. So it's but I guess there's not really like a huge chalk pitcher on the slate either. So yeah, nice little slate we got. Okay. 8 games, nice size.
Well, you mentioned I'm sick. I'm gonna be like wiping my nose and being gross. So sorry about that. You mentioned we do have some weather concerns, and there's a few games where we have the chance to run into some things. But let's start with the one that I'm actually worried about, and that's Philadelphia. So tell me, ladies and gentlemen, what is it that we want to do in Philadelphia? Cards, you got?
You want all the Philly bats and potentially the Philly pitcher.
Okay.
But he's not like mandatory. But the Philly bats will probably be like a top offense.
Okay. I don't love either. I certainly think that the Philly pitcher I would just be out on him, especially in cash games. Like, don't do it. I think it's more than likely that they're able to complete this game one way or another as far as the bats go. But if you're looking for a safe play, I would not call it safe. I was looking at some high resolution models, essentially have rain coming in between 8 and 9 Eastern and heavy rain for like an hour and then light rain for 2 hours. So that's 3 hours where they might not play baseball. And at that point, you'd have to be worried that they don't finish. I'm not saying that's the likely outcome here. And so if you want to do this in tournaments, that's fine. But
also worth noting that that's the first game of a 4-game series over the weekend. So they have the next 3 days. They could easily just say we're going to play a doubleheader.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I'll add here is that if they late start, like the rain's not going to get there until an hour into the game. So if they late start, that's coming down as a postponement. If they say they're late starting, that's a postponement. So get out immediately if we see anything about a late start.
Boots on the ground, it just started pouring. So
excellent.
Yeah. It's probably moving west, or moving east rather. So probably about 20 minutes.
Yes, I would say so. Someone saying something about great job last night in St. Louis, but someone else said, hey, the weather.com was right in St. Louis. I don't think that's right. I think I was right in St. Louis and weather.com was wrong. But anyways, that's besides the point. All right. So we've got the Philly game. I don't think you should play pitchers. If you want to play bats, fine, stack it up. Just know that I do think there's some legitimate risk if they don't finish that game. In New York, there's a chance for a later inning delay, but kind of play whoever you want because I think it would come after the starting pitchers are out. And I think they would be able to finish that game regardless. And then in Detroit, there's a low chance of a pop-up causing a delay. But they just had a downpour there in Detroit, and I think it's likely that's the last one that they're going to see of the night. Similarly, in St. Louis, a low chance of a pop-up shower or storm causing a delay. I don't think it's likely enough that you should do anything about it. So Philly's the only one where I think you should think about actively changing things, especially if you have a pitcher. I will monitor things as we go through the remainder of the show, but that is where I'm at now. Squirrel, you want to tell me what you thought of my analysis? Are you angry at me? What say you?
Well, I mean, I do think this Philly game is important because I think they've got the highest implied run total. So I think they're going to be a very popular stack. So like if the game doesn't finish, that's significant. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I love the Philly stack anyway. Like it's interesting now because now it's potentially going to be lower owned. So maybe
nobody's getting off it. Nobody's getting it unless it's started. Unless there's unless a game gets a late start, nobody does anything about weather. I could scream from the mountaintops and no one will do anything unless there's an announcement.
Is there like a humidity dew point thing where it's going to rain? And everyone's looking at the weather right now and thinking it's going to be all these home runs. It's because it's really hot and humid. Mm-hmm. It's going to rain. Temperature's going to drop 10 degrees. It's not going to be as humid anymore. And now the ball's not flying out of the ballpark. Is that a thing?
Sure. It'll still be every bit as humid, but it will cool down, 10 or 15 degrees when the rain moves in. So that's a little bit of a bump down to bats there if you're looking for reasons. But mostly it's just, is it going to play? And I think it's going to start playing, but I just can't promise you it finishes. So that's where I'm at. If you want to stick with it, that's great. If you want to lower your exposure a little bit, I recommend that, have a little bit, but don't go overboard on it. Don't make it your only stack. And with that, I think we got to talk about, the rest of the plays here. So Cards, you mind jumping into what you plan on doing, maybe with some pitchers?
Yeah, it's a fairly deep slate for pitching, but you're going to see ownership kind of congregate around a few guys. Verlander is the clear ace in terms of numbers, talent, etc. But it's also a sneaky, difficult matchup for Verlander tonight against a Cleveland team that doesn't strike out a lot. Verlander's strikeout prop is only 5.5. That's about a full strikeout lower than what we would usually see. And he's also the most expensive pitcher on the slate. And he's also going to be the chalkiest pitcher on the slate. So if you want to play Verlander in cash games, I think that's fine. I do not think this is the night to play Verlander in tournaments. Cleveland's just not a team that's going to strike out 12, 15 times in a game. And I think his ceiling tonight is a little bit lower than what we would usually see. So, he generally is the one pitcher that has the potential to break a slate amongst the guys we have going tonight. But I'm not sure that's the case in this matchup. So I do like the pivot to Manoah, who actually has more juice on the same strikeout number, despite being a lower strikeout pitcher generally in people's minds. So Manoah is 500 cheaper on FanDuel than Verlander and a third of the ownership. I do think, maybe that'll go just a little bit higher, but the back half of that Minnesota lineup is very beatable. So Manoah is my pitcher that I'm definitely going overweight on. Tough matchup for Carrasco tonight, but he would be the other guy. Carrasco and Kyle Wright, really interesting head-to-head matchup, two good offenses. I'll take Carrasco at home. He projects like 2 or 3 points better in most of the projection sources. So those are kind of the guys at the top. I'm off of Verlander. Manoah and Carrasco are fine. And then if you're looking to go a little bit cheaper, it's always kind of gross, to go cheap, but particularly if you're not going to play Syndergaard now because of the weather in Philly. You've got Jeffrey Springs there against the Tigers in a good matchup. And you've got Quintana first start for his new team for the Cardinals against the Cubs, facing one of his former teams. Certainly a guy that's going to be a little bit rejuvenated going from Pittsburgh to a team that at least is a playoff contender. Much better defense behind him in St. Louis than he had in Pittsburgh. And it's not like he has this huge ceiling, but Cubs, fairly high strikeout lineup, second game of a doubleheader, tough loss for the Cubs in the first game. Quintana's really cheap. He's only 7,700 on FanDuel. He's 6,700 on DraftKings. So I think kind of the chalk SP2 is Springs, and I like him. But I think Quintana is okay in tournaments as well. And that's probably about it. I mean, Springs, Quintana, Carrasco, Manoah, those four are probably largely comprising my pitcher pool tonight.
Okay. Squirrel, you want to talk about some of your favorite pitchers? And let me add here, if you want to throw a dart throw in the Philly game for a pitcher and just hope that, okay, you get 5 or 6 innings, okay, but I just don't think it's safe enough that should be a default play, because I think it very well could get delayed in the 4th or 5th inning, and then you're done.
Yeah, I mean, so Justin kind of covered all of the pitchers. I mean, that there's really limited options because there's only 8 games as it is, and so if we want to, if we're kind of taking one of those games off the board because of weather, at least in terms of pitchers, that's only 14 pitchers left. I'm not gonna go way down the list like Drew Hutchinson, like Sean Newcomb, Crispy. Like those are not guys I'm going to play, even with 150 lineup. So I like Alex Manoah better than Justin Verlander. I think Verlander will be a little bit overowned just because, he's Justin Verlander and he's the most expensive guy on the board. And he's known for having strikeout upside, but he probably doesn't have that great strikeout upside in this matchup. The other guys that I like Alex Manoah more. I like Carlos Carrasco more. And I'll, be over the field on Kyle Wright. And then Jeffrey Springs is somebody I'm probably going to have a decent amount of. He's very affordable on DraftKings. It just fits in as a SP2.
Okay, well, let's talk about some of the stacks, Squirrel. You mentioned that Philly might be the best stack, but talk to me about some of the pivots and maybe even what you plan on doing in Philly, given what has been noted here, where they got the chance that they don't get to finish. Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I'm not the best objective source on this because I just know it's like pouring right outside my window. So it's hard to play a Philly stack. Especially if I'm, the numbers are showing they're going to be pretty highly owned. And I never like to play like the highest owned team because it tends to be overowned anyway. So there's a lot that has to go right for the Phillies to hit, is that they have to score a bunch of runs in a game that may not play and may not finish. So pivots, I'm going a little bit farther down the board in terms of implied run total. I like Houston. I like Atlanta. Like Houston, they've got a lot of power, Yordan Alvarez. Kyle Tucker's not in the lineup. I think Trey Mancini's not in the lineup, so that hurts a little bit. But I mean, you can still see they've got a stack lineup like Alvarez, Altuve. You can play Mlb Dfs, Alex Bregman, not having the best season, but you can go there. I like Atlanta. I like Kansas City. St. Louis. I think you can go with St. Louis.
Okay, Cards, you got a couple more stacks you want to throw in there, or maybe one that you vehemently disagree with?
No, I mean, it's a small-ish slate tonight. So outside of Philly, I think it was going to be pretty spread out anyway. I do agree. I think Houston is probably kind of the 1B, so they'll end up being my kind of favorite if Philly's out of the mix. But Cardinals, Red Sox, White Sox, maybe even Texas as a little sneakier team against Cueto, probably where my exposure is going to head.
Okay, let's go position by position cards, and I want you to lead us off with a little catcher talk.
All right. Never mega exciting at the catcher spot, but we do have the Royals in action tonight, which means you got Melendez and Perez. Perez's price has started to come up a little bit more. He used to be on FanDuel. He was the guy that, you can even play him on FanDuel, even though you don't need a catcher. He is up to 3,300 on FanDuel, but hasn't missed a beat coming back from the injured list against Pivetta, a pitcher who does a lot of power at times. He's 5K on DraftKings, so the question becomes if it's optimal use of your salary to spend top dollar at catcher. To me, he's far enough ahead of the field that you especially if you're making multiple lineups, you got to get some exposure to Sal Perez tonight, particularly if Real Muto, who's probably the number 2 overall, is too risky because of the weather. You can punt if you're on DraftKings and you're looking to go cheap. Plawecki is the min 2K against a mediocre lefty tonight, so he is hitting 8th, but he's 2K. Wilson Contreras against Quintana, I think, is fine. But most of my exposure, I think you're just either going to the top at Perez or you're punting.
Okay, Squirrel?
Yeah, I mean, that's like Salvador Perez is almost the only catcher that's really noteworthy. He's maybe the only catcher I would really use as a one-off. Like JT Realmuto would be second, but concerned about the weather. After that, it's gonna be like Wilson Contreras, and then anybody else. I'm probably just going with whoever completes my stack, or at least completes one of my stacks. The value guys like Christian Betancourt and Kevin Plawecki with Boston Plawecki. He's 2,000. He's a catcher. He's hitting 8th. Like, it's just if you need the salary.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Take us to first.
So first base, I really like the Royals tonight. So they've got Vinny Linguini, still only 2,100. He's going to hit some home runs eventually. So he's the value guy. Pujols, Albert Pujols, only 2,000 with St. Louis, can still eventually, can still occasionally get hits. But the top guys, like Rhys Hoskins is the top guy. He's one of my top rated, top projected players, but I'm not going to have a whole lot of them just because I'm worried about the weather. Matt Olson, Paul Goldschmidt, it's a lot of Kansas City, Atlanta, and St. Louis for me. If I'm going to pay up and maybe be a little bit different, like Vlad Guerrero.
Okay. Let's see. Cards first.
Yeah, I do think some of those guys that are spend up to be contrarian options. I mean, Olsen, even against a good pitcher, Guerrero, agree with those guys that are going to be single-digit owned tonight for sure. Goldschmidt would certainly be my favorite. Hit a home run in the first game against a lefty in what is effectively a bullpen game for the Cubs, and they don't have a good bullpen, especially since they traded their 3 best guys away at the back end. So certainly a spot where the Cardinals could put up some runs tonight. Paredes is hitting cleanup for the Tigers, or for Tampa Bay against the Tigers, which is weird. But he's first base eligible on DraftKings. You've got Yandy Diaz, who's first base eligible on FanDuel, and will probably be one of the chalkier options because he's only 2,900. So those Tampa guys are fine for cheaper plays.
All right, take us to second.
All right, second base, again, Tampa, Brandon Lau at 3K on FanDuel. He's the definite chalk there. He is a little pricey on DraftKings, so might not be quite as popular. You do have Baez if you're not on Springs. Projects well on FanDuel at 2,600. Not going to be super high owned because a lot of people are playing Springs, so that could be a play in tournaments as maybe a pivot. Semien against Cueto, I think, is fine. And, of course, Altuve. Those are my main plays at second base.
Scroll.
Yeah, second is actually one position where I kind of like some one-offs. Brandon Lau, he's my top projected guy. He's 5,000 on DraftKings, which is kind of expensive, and it's going to keep him probably a little bit lower owned. He's only 3,000 on FanDuel, so he'll probably be one of the higher owned second basemen. But I mean, that's really good savings, and it allows you to do a lot with your team. Also on FanDuel, Javi Baez is really cheap. He's only 2,600. But like Marcus Semien, like I don't love like Texas is a stack tonight, but I like Semien because he can always hit home runs. Jorge Polanco, like him at second as well. And then some of the guys like Tommy Edman, Ledmus Diaz, Jose Altuve that fit into the stacks that I like.
Okay, take us to third.
Third base. So yeah, Nolan Arenado's the top projected guy. I like that St. Louis stack. Austin Riley. Also, power guy, like the Atlanta stack. Ledmus Diaz is third base eligible on Fanduel. It's like second base, shortstop, third base, pretty much all around the infield. Going to be mentioning him. Bobby Witt Jr. on Fanduel, third base eligible. Patrick Wisdom, I like as a one-off. So it's not huge on Cub stacks, but like Patrick Wisdom is a guy that's got a ton of power and can, if he hits 2 home runs, which he's been known to do, that's going to break the slate, or it's going to have a major impact on the slate.
Okay. So I just got a message from someone, and this is not a great source, but this person says nobody's warming up in Philly. The ground crew's standing next to a tarp. Nobody's warming up in the bullpens. And the rain isn't going to come for another 90 minutes. So I'm going to try to find out if anybody's watching Philly pregame or whatever and can confirm or deny that. If it looks like they're not going to play this game on time, you just absolutely should not play it. I'm not saying it's definitely going to get postponed at that point, but it is real risky if they don't start the game on time because the rain's 90 minutes to 2 hours away. So
what exactly were the Cardinals doing last night, by the way? What did they see that, wasn't the forecast basically just a washout?
No, there was a window, and honestly, as soon as they postponed it, it started breaking up, and they got what they were looking for. It took too long. This back edge just kept building and kept bringing that light rain, and it looked like at any moment the light rain would end, but it never did.
So if they would have waited, they would have got it in?
They still would have had to deal with storms later that night, but they could have given it a legitimate run 20 minutes from when they postponed it.
Interesting.
Just a quick thing on FanDuel, our sponsor, on rain delays and rainouts. They're handling it. I think it's a little bit differently this season.
This is a good point. Go for it.
Yeah. So they are the game locks when it's supposed to lock, but then if it's postponed, obviously like nobody's playing. Once it officially gets postponed, they're allowing you to swap to any later game. So it's actually in the qualifier like last night, which I didn't come close. I played a St. Louis Cubs stack because there was 2 hour gap between that game and like the other games. So I figured they're not going to like rain delay it for like over 2 hours and not postpone it. And it worked out. So they postponed it and then I could late swap. Tonight, the latest game is at like 8:10 or something. So you can't really play that game. So if it's in a rain delay, like all the other games are probably going to start before the rain delay finishes and they postpone.
Good point.
If that makes sense.
Okay. This is just an important strategy to think about going forward on FanDuel. In these dicey games, it almost makes sense to roll the dice on that play on FanDuel because you do have that ability to swap away and you can get it at super low ownership if it plays. Whereas on DK, that's not the case.
It's just locked. But I will say that it only makes sense to play that game on FanDuel if there's a gap between that game and the later games.
Sure.
Because
if you got some
don't want to be in a
games
position where
or
there's
something.
nothing to swap to.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. All right. So if anybody, as I mentioned, I'm going to dig here and see what's going on in Philly. But if anybody has the inside scoop, let me know. All right. Keep going from wherever you guys were. I'm sorry. I've got to do some weather stuff here.
I think third.
Yeah, then I think Squirrel covered third. So Devers is top play, even lefty back from injury against a guy that, doesn't blow the ball past people. I think he's fine. Don't really have a lot of guys to add, but again, the spend up to be different with some lower owned guys here like Arenado against a lefty or Austin Riley against a good pitcher. Those are certainly spots where you can look to be a little bit different. Even Jose Ramirez against Verlander, I don't think is super crazy, especially if you're on the anti-Verlander train to get some, leverage away from him being chalk. So otherwise, not much to add at third. While Ross doing the weather, I can just go ahead and move to short, which short is interesting.
I did get a couple quick weather questions, and then we'll get to short. Dean says, can I get an update in the Tampa Bay at Detroit game? There are a few little showers popping upstream of Detroit, and so I can't rule out a delay there, but it's really not much, these little showers that are popping. And even with the little light rain that I'm starting to see pop up, I still think the likely outcome in Detroit is that they play without a delay. So I would stick certainly with hitters in Detroit. And I think pitchers are likely going to work out okay as well. So shortstop.
All right.
And I got to cut in again. I'm sorry. I'm seeing someone post photos of people warming up in Philly. So I'm seeing.
Yeah, I haven't found anything indicating a delay. So
yeah. So I'm going to ask on Twitter and see if I've got anybody watching that game. If you were watching that game, watching pregame, let me know. But right now, everything seems to be in decent shape there.
All right, shortstop. Pretty spread out ownership tonight, I think, which is interesting. Part of it's because you got a lot of multi-position eligible guys, but we don't really have anyone projecting over 10% ownership. Whenever that's the case, I default to Corey Seager a lot, just like Cheese. So Seager against Cueto, I think, is fun as your spend up, or Bogarts if you're not interested in picking on Cueto, who has not actually been that bad for the White Sox. Paul DeJong still really cheap. He's 2,200 on FanDuel, playing in both games. Has taken better at bats since he came back. Didn't really have the results in the first game, but did hit a ball that was only about 10 feet short of the wall. That ended up advancing a runner. So he's still taking pretty good at bats. I don't mind him as a cheap play. Tim Anderson as well against kind of an unproven pitcher, I think is okay in tournaments. That's kind of it for me outside of the guys that are multi-position eligible like Baez and Witt and Diaz that we've mentioned at other spots.
Okay, Squirrel.
Yeah, Bobby Witt Jr., Corey Seager, Javi Baez, and Dansby Swanson are the guys I really like. I think, just DraftKings, like Marcus Semion's also shortstop eligible. Paul DeJong is a guy I like as a value guy on both sites. Christian Arroyo and Taylor Walls on DraftKings are both 2,000 at 2,200. So they're value plays, like they're reasonable punt plays, like better hitters than like the $2,000 catchers. And somebody else. Nick Gordon with Minnesota on FanDuel is only 2,200, and he's shortstop outfield eligible, so he's a good punt play on that site.
Keep us rolling wherever we are.
Yeah, just moving to the outfield, like Yordan Alvarez, I actually have him projected as a pretty good chunk over any other hitter. And with some of the weather concerns and Philly potentially being chalk or rained out, like I'm gonna play up probably more of him, even though he's gonna be a little bit chalky than I normally would. Like play a chalky hitter, Ryan Acuna. You can always play Luis Robert, as they were discussing on the earlier show. Like him in the outfield, Byron Buxton. Obviously, you can always play value options like Jalen Davis, Jose Siri, Yadiel Hernandez with Washington. If you're going to go a little bit contrarian and risk the rain, he's hitting cleanup and he's only 2,000 on DraftKings. And then there's a handful of like 2,000 outfielders on DraftKings I don't really know that much about, but they project fairly decently. Like Will Benson, he's facing Justin Verlander, Mark Contreras with Minnesota, and then Nick Gordon is only 2,400 on DraftKings. I think 2,200 on FanDuel, and outfield eligible on both sites.
Okay, Carts. And by the way, everybody says it looks like they're warming up. Everything looks to be on track in Philly, which is good, but we still have all the initial concerns about storms likely moving in during the game and there being a pretty lengthy delay. Carts, outfield.
Yeah, not a whole lot of additional players to add. The cheap guys, if you are okay with that Philly game and you want to take a chance on some guys in the GPP, I mean, obviously we know the Philly outfielders are fine, but even the Washington outfielders that are cheap, you've got Victor Robles, who's leading off. You've got Yadiel Hernandez, who's hitting cleanup, which is scary. That's the state of the Washington lineup these days. But if we know one thing about Syndergaard, it's that if these guys get on base, they can steal bases. And so that gives you the upside that you're looking for in GPPs. So if you're stacking some Philly bats and you're risking the rain, maybe you get a cheap one-off on the Washington side, one of those 2K plays to run it back, and you hope for, a single or a walk, a couple stolen bases against Syndergaard is certainly a path you can take. Jalen Davis will be the other kind of chalk value in the outfield. And then I agree with the high-end guys. I mean, Alvarez, Schwarber, Eloy Jimenez, I think is fine. George Springer, maybe a little bit more contrarian tonight. So those are a few of my favorites.
Okay. Does that bring us to QQs?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it. Really no change in Philly or anywhere else, which is to say the likely outcome is sure, it's probably going to work out okay, but I don't think it's a safe play. So that's
somebody was asking about reviewing the scoring if a game does get postponed mid-game, and I believe that they've basically all changed to the points that are accrued to that point still count.
Correct. Yeah, so if it gets called in the 7th inning, or I guess it would have already counted then, but if it gets called in the 4th inning, you still get those points.
Right. Not that you want
not that
your hitters to only play 3 or 4 innings, but
and not that I expect that. I do think it's more likely to be, mid to later. But yeah, it's possible. All right. NBA DFS FanDuel cash question here coming in here, and Squirrel, I'm going to give this to you. Alvarez and Vinny P or Arenado and Choi?
I like you were on Alvarez. I've just got him projected much higher than anybody else.
Okay.
So it was Alvarez and Vinny.
Vinny versus Arenado and Choi. You like the Alvarez?
Yeah, Alvarez and Vinny.
Great. Okay. Cards, what are your thoughts on a White Sox stack and FanDuel single entry?
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, there's a lot of stacks that you could consider the one like single entry choice tonight. So ownership will be spread out a little bit as a result. So yeah, the White Sox would be on my short list.
Okay, great. How do you feel about Reagans? Who the heck is Reagans?
He's pitching for Texas against the White Sox. So kind of like the White Sox. I'm not really interested in going with him tonight. But
okay,
the
gotcha.
White Sox
Squirrel,
have made it all year.
Okay, Squirrel. Any interest in a Blue Jay stack and DK single entry? We've got about 5 minutes until lock.
I think you can go there. They're not going to be super highly owned, and they can always go absolutely berserk. So I approve.
Okay. DK cash here. Cards, I'm giving this to you. This is Lau and Arenado or DeYoung and Devers.
In cash, I think I'd go with the first one and avoid using DeYoung.
Okay, BHB says, can you give us one final overview in Philly? Sure. I think the likely outcome in Philly is that rain moves in sometime between 8 and 9. And how many innings will be likely? I don't know. How long would the delay be? I would guess 2 hours, but there are models showing it could be longer than that. So that's the best I've got, is that I think it's pretty likely rain moves in sometime between 8 and 9. But it's
that
not
would be around 4th, 5th inning. Then.
Yeah. Let's see. Carolina guy says 3,200 in the util spot. FanDuel GPP. Squirrel, 3,200 util FanDuel GPP.
First 2 guys I see are Rhys Hoskins and Luke Voigt, but they're both in the both playing that Philly game. Bobby Witt Jr., if you don't have him already.
Okay, great. Let's see. DK's single entry, better stack for you, Cards, St. Louis or Boston?
Yeah, I like them both. I'd probably give a slight lean to Boston, but it's pretty close.
Okay, DK cash, Cards, I'm coming right back to you. 3v3. Dozier, Edman, JDM, or Baum, Witt, and Jalen Davis.
I like the second one a little better, but Baum, you got to be careful with Philly there with the weather. So,
okay. Squirrel, DK cash, Jalen Davis, or Robles?
Jalen Davis, because Victor Robles is also in that game. It's like you don't want to risk that. You know, Jalen Davis, I projected pretty well. I think he's hitting leadoff. So,
Okay. Do you guys like Carrasco? Squirrel, you like Carrasco in single entry DK?
Carlos Carrasco, yeah, the pitcher, yes, I do.
Great.
I think he's a good pivot off of Verlander.
All right. Let's see. Do you mind a guy like Mike Massey cards for 2K in your Kansas City stacks on FanDuel? And is tonight a night to leave some salary if you're spending down a pitcher?
You can. I mean, usually there's always a spot you can upgrade to get a Yordan Alvarez or something in there. But if you want to be super different, like I don't have a strong take on Massey because he's 2K. Like all the Royals outside of Perez and Witt are mega cheap. So I would probably play Vinny P and Dozier before I played Massey. But I mean, he's fine if he ends up landing in there.
Okay, great. Could you please do a quick pitching recap? Sure. All right. You each get to give me your favorite pitcher on DK and FanDuel. Cards?
It's Manoah for me on both sites as a pivot away from Verlander with a low strikeout matchup tonight.
Okay. You got a favorite SP2 you want to throw in on DK?
Probably Quintana.
Okay. Squirrel?
Yeah, I think it's Alex Manoah. SP1, like good pivot off of Verlander, and then we'll go with Jeffrey Springs as like the SP2 or the value play on FanDuel. I think we're just about at lock in like a minute and a half. Just FYI. Also, like there's some satellites on FanDuel that are like half full. So like $4 satellites for the football single game contest. So if anybody's interested in that,
good heads up. We got some overlay alert there. Excellent. Okay, we'll take a couple more of these QQs here. Jay says, Squirrel, I've got Edman, short and second base as part of a St. Louis stack. Who's the better one off, Altuve or Bogarts?
Let's see. I would go with. I'd probably go with Bogarts.
Okay. DK GPP from Amateur Hour. Your favorite outfielder, 5,400 or less.
DK?
Yes, DK GPP, favorite outfielder, 5,400 or less. Squirrel.
Like Acuna.
Okay, excellent. FanDuel Cash in the util from Yeisman. Cards, Bogarts or Baum or Anderson or Real Muto. Pick one.
One of the four, I would probably go with Bogarts 1 and Anderson 2.
Okay. Steve O on FanDuel for an Astro stack. You like Diaz or Pena cards?
Give me Diaz.
Okay, great. We hit lock yet? Let it lock, for Christ's sake. Derek says JD Martinez and J-Ram or Devers and Schwarbs. STL? Squirrel?
Sorry, JD
and J-Ram. That sounds good. Or Devers and Schwarber.
If you're comfortable with the Philly game, I think you can go Devers and Schwarber.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody said 100% Devers and Schwarbs. Okay. We've hit the lock. That was a not enjoyable 40 minutes, but hopefully it was an educational 40 minutes.
I can perk you up, Roth, by telling you that Shohei Ohtani has 2 home runs this afternoon. The Angels have 6 homers, and they're losing to the A's 8-6.
Wow.
6 solo
That's really
homers,
embarrassing.
6 solo homers, and they're losing 8-6.
And the A's are garbage, right?
The A's are garbage, yet they're only 4 games worse than the Angels. That's how bad the Angels have been this year, and poor Ohtani just gets to waste away his limitless talent and
brutal,
endearing personality out there with a bad team.
Brutal. Get this guy to an East Coast market. Get him to Houston. Give me Shohei in Houston. Let's make it happen.
That's not East Coast.
Well, no, I mean East Coast, or even better, get him to where I'm at in Houston. But it's not very realistic. All right, we're going to get out of here. So for Cards for Squirrel, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.